Sunday News at 10. I'm Doug Petcash. It's taken 3 years to get to this point. Lori Vallow's trial is scheduled to start tomorrow morning. She's the Rexburg mom accused of killing two of her own children, J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. She's also charged with conspiracy in the killing of the late wife of her current husband, Chad Daybell. Both face charges for the three deaths, but it's Lori who will face a judge and jury starting tomorrow. News Channel 7's Shira Matsuzawa has a timeline now of how we got to here.
Spanning from Idaho to Arizona to Hawaii, this case has captivated the nation since the disappearance of 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, who vanished in September of 2019. Their mother, Lori Vallow Daybell, never reported them missing. But 4 months later, Lori and her husband Chad Daybell were tracked down in Hawaii in January of 2020.
Here, hotel staff members tell me that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell actually checked out of their hotel rooms here just about 90 minutes ago.
Chad, where are Lori's kids?
Nate Eaton with East Idaho News was in Kauai this weekend right after police served Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell with 2 search warrants. One for this black Ford Explorer the couple was driving around the island, and another for their Kauai townhome where the couple's been living.
They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii?
But the mystery surrounding the kids' disappearance started long before Lori and Chad were found in Hawaii. Lori married Chad in Hawaii on November 5th. He's her 5th husband. But before that, she was married to Charles Vallow, and they lived in Arizona. In January of 2019, body camera footage from Arizona police shows Charles pleading to officers for Lori to get help and claiming she was trying to kill him.
You're murdered today or tomorrow?
But officers determined she was fine. About 5 months later, on July 11th, Lori's brother, Alex Cox, shot and killed Charles in what Alex claimed was self-defense. Body camera footage shows police responding to the home.
Is he hurt or is he alive?
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
Lori showed up a short time later.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Gotcha.
Like, hi, neighbor, sorry.
The very next month, Lori, Tylee, JJ, Alex, and Lori's niece Melanie moved to Rexburg.
September 8th, 2019, the last time 17-year-old Tylee Ryan is seen. She was on a trip to Yellowstone with her mother, Lori Vallow, and uncle, Alex Cox. A cellular analysis survey team, or CAST, with the FBI analyzed data from Alex's phone. According to the probable cause affidavit, the GPS data points used by CAST are highly accurate, placing a device within 6 meters of its location. On September 9th, 1 day after the Yellowstone trip, that GPS data puts Alex's phone at Lori's Rexburg apartment between 2:42 a.m. and 3:37 a.m. This is the only time he was at Lori's between midnight and 6 a.m., according to the PCA. A few hours later, 9:21 a.m. until a little after 11 a.m., Alex's phone pings at Chad Daybell's property, specifically placing him behind the home near the barn. Just 14 minutes after Alex leaves, Chad sends a text to his then-wife, Tammy Daybell. The text reads, quote, "I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun, and he was still walking along. I got close enough, one shot did the trick. He's now in our pet cemetery. Fun times." Police state this was suspicious because raccoons are nocturnal. Neighbors of Chad's also reported to police frequent bonfires at Chad's house, which was out of the norm. Fast forward a few weeks to September 22nd, the last time J.J. Vallow was seen. Police interviewed Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend David Warwick, who were visiting Lori that weekend. They told police Lori said J.J. had turned into a zombie. The next morning, September 23rd, between 8 and 9 a.m., Warwick didn't see J.J. and asked where he was. Lori stated he was acting out, so, quote, Alex had come and taken J.J. GPS data once again puts Alex on Chad's property that day from 9:55 a.m. until 10:12 a.m., pinging near the pond.
At the time, Chad was married to Tammy, and they also lived in Rexburg. By this point, Chad and Lori were believed to have some type of relationship. Court documents show they met in 2018 at a religious conference in Utah. Then, on October 19th of 2019, Tammy Daybell died in her sleep. Court records show 10 days before her death, Tammy called 911 and reported a masked man shot at her in her driveway. Court documents later indicate Lori's brother tried to shoot and kill Tammy. Initially, a coroner ruled Tammy died of natural causes, but investigators later reopened the case and exhumed her body on December 11th. 1 day later, Lori's brother Alex died suddenly of natural causes. 2 weeks later, Lori and Chad got married in Hawaii. Then 4 months later, in February of 2021,
Fremont County Sheriff's Office has received the autopsy report on Tammy Daybell's body from the Utah Medical Examiner, but they are not releasing it to the public just yet.
that report has still not been released. But Lori and Chad are charged in connection with conspiring to kill Tammy. On November 26th, 1 month after Tammy's death, Kay and Larry Woodcock, JJ's grandparents, ordered a welfare check for JJ. Police say Lori told them JJ was with her friend Melanie Gibb in Arizona. Melanie told East Idaho News Chad called her that day and said when police call, don't pick up the phone.
He says, yeah, the police are over at Lori's house checking on JJ. And I'm like, JJ's not with Kay? No. My heart dropped deeper.
Rexburg police returned to Lori's home the next day, this time with a search warrant. But Lori was gone. That's when Chad and Lori, newly married, are found in Hawaii. Police in Hawaii served a court order saying Lori had 5 days to physically produce the kids. The newlyweds ignored that deadline.
She's got an end game in her head, and although this is not a game, but obviously she thinks it is, for you to shun an order from a court telling you what you need to do.
Police arrested Lori in Hawaii on February 20th, 2020. She was charged with child desertion, obstructing an officer, contempt of court, and solicitation to commit a crime.
Do you know that you have been charged in the state of Idaho with a number of charges?
At this point, both her kids are still missing. Lori was extradited from Hawaii to Idaho on March 5th. KTVB was the only media outlet to get video of Lori landing at the Boise airport. From there, she was flown to Rexburg.
Welcome back, Lori. Where are your kids? Tell us where your kids are.
KTVB was there as she made her first court appearance in Idaho on March 6th.
All right.
Her son, Colby Ryan, was also there, along with Kay and Larry Woodcock.
Where are Tylee and JJ? Where are the kids? Where are the kids?
Fast forward to June of 2020, 9 months after JJ and Tylee disappeared. Investigators searched Chad Daybell's Idaho property and found human remains. That's when police arrested him.
The investigators and detectives have recovered what's believed to be human remains that are not identified at this time.
Rexburg police later confirmed the remains belonged to JJ and Tylee.
I just want you to know I came here for one reason. That's to see where
Then in May of 2021,
a Fremont County grand jury indicted the couple on 2 charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. And another first in this case, with Daybell charged with first-degree murder of his late wife, Tammy Daybell.
Members of the grand jury deliberated and determined there is probable cause to believe the Daybells willfully and knowingly conspired to commit several crimes that led to the death of 3 innocent people.
a few weeks later, on June 8th, Lori was deemed not fit to stand trial. The case was paused for nearly a year. But on June 24th, another grand jury in Arizona indicted Lori on conspiracy to commit murder charges in the death of her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. A trial for those charges won't happen until the conclusion of the trial in Ada County.
Thank you. Please be seated.
In April of 2022, Lori is found competent for trial. She was then formally arraigned on murder charges and pled not guilty. 1 month later, prosecutors said they would pursue the death penalty against Lori. But then, in October of 2022, Judge Stephen Boyce issued a ruling to suspend the trial until Lori's competency could be determined. 1 month later, the judge ruled she was competent to stand trial once again. Then in March of 2023, Judge Boyce ruled Lori and Chad's cases would be severed, meaning they will now be tried separately. Which brings us to today and Lori's trial in Ada County.
Trial proceedings do start tomorrow morning at the Ada County.
All right, I'm finding my way out of a wet paper bag. That's what it's like. Hey, everybody, it's good to see you. Yes, it's good news that they've released Tylee's remains. Just found out about it as we were going live today. So, I don't even know how to feel yet. So I'm just going to continue on and it'll sink in as we go. Okay. So just bear with me. It's wonderful news. Yeah, let me continue. That way I don't just sit here and fumble for words. Okay. So that was a very good rundown, right? I hadn't even watched it yet. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was that long. But I mean, they're extra people or they're people that do extra. And so that's how they like things. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Cat Lady. She gifted 5 difficult research memberships. That is so appreciated. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Donna. I was going to do that. Thank you. That's very sweet. I don't even know how that works. I think you have to have it switched on where you can accept memberships and then you can accept her gift. I think that's how that goes. If not, we're going to learn together. That's what we do. I'm shaken. So I just don't quite know how to feel yet. We'll get there. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show and share was I have to make those things stop auto-playing because they scare the crap out of me. All right. Oh, yeah, this is the night that Tammy was shot at. We're going to play this real quick. I say quick. It's Tammy, though. And this is the first time when this was released at the trial for Lori Vallow. This was the first time that I ever heard Tammy's voice. And I cried. You know, her birthday is the day after mine. It's May 4th. Mine's May 3rd. I do feel a connection to Tammy. She's always been throughout the gist of this, the bulk of this whole nightmare. Tammy is somebody I've come to know and love and respect, even though I've never met her. And so, in a lot of ways, I understand how you guys feel, because you guys are so involved and you care about the victims in this case and how you just want to see justice. You want to see it be served for all these victims who did not deserve this. And you've latched on somewhere, their stories, it grabbed you, it captivated you, and you have no choice because it grabbed you. And you've been here, tried and true, day in, day out, stream in, stream out. You're here for it. You're here for them. And I appreciate that so much. That's the best of humanity. We see the worst in humanity in these cases, but the best of humanity are you guys. And a reason to persevere, a reason to just continue on. You guys are the torch, and you guys help me move that forward. And we move it together. I don't do this by myself. This is together. So I just can't thank you guys enough for, that's what I was saying. Also, I can relate with loving somebody you've never met, caring for somebody you've never met, because I've never met Tammy, but I love and care for her. And I try to look at the situation as she would want me to handle it. She does not want me to, I don't feel, and this is just me, I don't feel that Tammy would be proud or happy if I were to degrade and judge her children. They're half her children. And that's the part of me that I question. Yes, I'm just like, what's going on, kids? What's going on, Tammy's kids? You know, come on, mom needs you too. Mom needs you too. Be her advocate. She needs you to be her advocate. That's what I feel that needs to be said. So I'm going to do that. And this is the way I go about it. I show by example. And I want one day, maybe that'll catch on. And so mom needs you, Daybell children, Daybell siblings. Mom needs you. Dad made his choice. You know, she wants to be here with her grandbabies. She wants to be here. She wants to be a grandmother. And she just wants to be alive. Nobody gets to take that from you. You know, that's denying people just basic human rights. And so sorry. Let me play this. This is, I'm sorry. This is a 911 call made. 911 calls made the night Tammy Daybell was shot at. So this is October 9th, 2019 in Rexburg, Idaho. Tammy had just gotten back from, oh hell, I forgot the name of it. Some kind of meeting at the church. Oh, it's not sharing it? Hold on. Oh crap. It's not showing it. Let's try that again. I didn't know it was not sharing that screen the whole time. Okay. All right. Let's try this again. 911 calls made the night Tammy Daybell was shot at.
Mother-in-law what I just got home about 10 minutes ago was unloading her car.
This is Joseph Murray.
She thinks the man, but she's not 100% sure she can see because they were wearing ski mask, came up to her with a paintball gun, but they sort of shooting at her. Wasn't loaded. She could see nobody came out of it. But she kept asking what he was doing with the phone, and then suddenly, after she pulled out her husband's hair, he ran off.
Okay, what's the address?
It's valid. It's valid filling. Just know that. It's okay. Thank you.
Hello? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. What's the address?
It's 199 North, 1900 East, Rexburg, Idaho, 83440. That's my address. She lives in the corner. I don't know what her address is.
Okay, I need her address. What's her location?
I think it's 201, I think is her address.
201 North 1900 East?
North, yep.
Does she know which direction he ended up running?
He headed east, back behind their house.
Okay, and did she give you a description of the clothing?
I didn't get one from her. I just only got,
and what is your name?
My name is Joseph Murray.
Okay, is this a good good phone number for you?
Yep.
Okay, I am sending a deputy out to your mother's home.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
October 9th. 2019, 21 hours, 49 minutes, 20 seconds.
Fremont County Sheriff's Office. Hi, I need to report something. Okay, go ahead. What's the address? Okay, at 202 North, 1900 East. The corner with the blinking yellow light on Salem Highway. Is it a suspicious person? Yes. Okay, what was he wearing? He was all dressed in black and he had a ski mask on. And he said the blinking light now is where you saw him? No, he's gone now because I pulled up into our driveway and I didn't step out of the back seat of my car and suddenly he was there and he had a paintball gun and he was and like he was going to shoot at me. And I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing. And then he just kept doing it, so I yelled for my husband, and then he took off running around the back of my house. Okay, give me just 1 minute. Stay on the line with me. Okay.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 28 seconds.
That was North 1900 East? Yes.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 43 seconds.
Do you know what direction he was going? He went behind my house and it's so dark out here and I just went in the house and got my husband and son. And then they went out and looked and he was long gone by then. So he was on the north side of my house is where he went to get away. Okay. He didn't say anything, or he just kept like he was holding the gun, like he was, had a rifle and just shooting at me. So, but nothing came out of the gun either, so I don't think it was loaded. Okay, and what is your name, ma'am? My name is Tammy Daybell. Okay, I will pass your information on to my deputies. We actually just had a previous call about this individual, so they're out in the area looking now. Okay, yeah, I think it was my son-in-law who lives diagonal from us that called you guys already. Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure it got reported. So, let's see. And what's your son-in-law's name? Joseph Murray. Okay, yep, it was him. Okay. So, all right, I have a deputy that will be out at your home here shortly. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Okay, I know she did have a soft voice, and I just let's continue. Hold on, just 1 second. So many tabs, so many tabs. So what I guess what I'm doing is just trying to put the things together. I'm trying to be visual, and this is 199 North 1900 East, Rexburg, Idaho. This was the residence that Joseph Murray and Emma Murray Daybell lived at. This is allegedly where Chad had parked and was looking over his right shoulder. Now, hold on. I'm trying to see the vantage point of Ray Hermosillo's testimony in Chad Daybell's preliminary hearing. How, as they were searching his property on June 9th, 2019, early in the morning, FBI shows up with the Rexburg and Fremont County Police Department, and they conduct a search. I'm sorry, that didn't come out right. They conducted a search for the two missing children. Those two missing children being 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, whose remains have been released today. Today is December 21st, 2023. So, with heavy hearts, right? I mean, it's just heartbreaking and heart-wrenching all the way around. So, I'm trying to understand how Chad Daybell could be looking over his. Let me back up this way. I don't know, y'all. I'm new to Google Maps. I've done it before, but I just, I'm not saying I'm great at it. Okay. So this is west, I believe. Let me make sure. Let me get my bearings here. Well, come on, tell me. I need a W or something. Let's see. And I think this is north. So I'm just trying to understand. Okay, so Chad and Tammy's house is right here. Children are back here. Emma's house is right here to the left. Chad Daybell is supposedly parked here. I'm trying to wrap my head around that and make sure I have that right. So if Chad is parked in here, not backed in though, if he's parked here to the left at Emma's house and he's looking over, so that means he's on the, he's on the left side of the vehicle where the driver's seat is. And let's say he is looking over his right shoulder. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess you could see, I don't see how he could see JJ's really, because the pond is way back here. Seems like it'd be easier. Maybe I have this wrong. I don't know. Let me back out. So this is the Daybell property right here. Okay. And then I typed in 199 North, 1900 East. And then, okay, well, that just jacked me all up. Okay, here, wait. Oh, hell. Okay, so they call it Salem Road. All right. I'm new. Let's see. All right, let me do this. Now this is what I did. And so it dropped me down. And I mean, this is the Prices. This is where the Prices live. This is where the memorial fence is now. Down here. Whoa. Okay. This is exactly, the memorial fence is actually down here. Well, okay, it's really gross looking. Ah, that screws with me. I don't like that. There's the pond. Here's where 199 North 1900 East or Salem Highway. This is the Prices right here. There's the pond where JJ was buried. Here's the fire pit, and around the fire pit where Tylee's remains were found. This is the back driveway. Okay, this is the big red barn or shop or whatever it is. This, I want to say, this part right here, but the addition part of the house is actually Chad and Tammy. Like I think Chad and Tammy's room was up here. Let's see. All right, so vantage point. I mean, I don't know how, because John Pryor is going to bring this up. He brought it up somewhere. I'm pretty sure it was a preliminary hearing, but I'm not sure yet. We're going to have to go more into it and kind of understand this. It just, to me, that way, it just, to me, it helps me to get the perspective and try to picture it in my head as they're explaining it. And so the memorial fence now is over here. It used to be over here on the property. And I was listening to Steve Daniels' testimony last night, not the one in the preliminary hearing, but the one at the trial. And they talked about, finding the charm, Tylee's charm to her Pura Vida necklace, which means purity. It's pure. It's choose the right in Mormon terms. Save yourself, your body, stay pure. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So now I want to go. Let me close this tab right here. Make some room. My computer's like, girl, close some tabs. I hope it does a little faster. Okay, let's see. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna have to go turn the heater down. It like works so much better in this part of the house. Or I live in a mobile home, and it's old, and insulation, right? Where did it go? All right, so now I want to play the 911 call made the morning Tammy Daybell died. Okay, it's y'all get ready to be pissed off. Oh, okay. All right, hold on. Let me go mute myself.
911, where's your emergency? We're at 202 North, 1900 East. What's going on? We just found my mom. She's on the ground frozen, or she's stiff, and I don't know. Are you in Madison County or Fremont County? I'm Chad, the husband. She's clearly dead. I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay. Are you in Rexford or? Because your address shows Rexford address, but you're in Fremont County? Mile past. Okay. Okay. Yeah, she's frozen. Okay, can I get your name? Chad Daybell. Oh, man. Okay, Chad, I'm going to get somebody up to you right now, okay? Yeah, the corner of the blinking yellow light is the red house. Yes, sir. Red house on the corner. Yes. Blinking yellow light. Right. Okay. We'll get somebody up to you, okay? I'm so sorry. Okay. If you need anything else, you call me back, okay? Okay. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. My God, I didn't have to clear my throat till I needed to talk. Okay. Right? It's infuriating. He's so fake. He's not a good actor. I think something just came to me just now when I listened to that again, knowing what I know now and having the luxury of hindsight. It's 2020, well, it's 2019, but hindsight is 2020. And you look back knowing what you didn't know then, but what you know now, but with what you know now, and you're like, bullshit. It doesn't add up. We know what happened. We know the ending of the story, so to speak. We know the outcome of these two people joining together, in my opinion, joined together by their church people's higher ups, even. And not so much through Chad's books. It's even more tragic than I think what's been shared, and that's the truth. I do believe that it's all the smoke and mirrors, all the weird stuff, all that crazy religious talk is something that gets thrown in there to throw it all off. Okay. Yes, it is their belief system. Yes, it is all these people's belief system. It's not off the mainstream beat. And although they would love it to be, they would love to distance themselves from such tragedy and such heinous crimes, especially committed against children who were innocent in this, who were devout, active members of its own organization. Okay. It's easier for them to distance themselves than it is for them to say, okay, yeah, there's some flaws here. And, oh, wow, let's not let this happen again. Not out for blood. I'm not out for blood. I mean, we see who's obviously out for blood here. And it's tragic because it's not stopped at Chad and Lori. It has not stopped at Chad and Lori. We have had Ruby Frankie happen. We have had Blaze Thibodeau happen. We've learned things about Tim Ballard and his whole operation and the people surrounding that. We're learning more into that, which gives us insight into this because this is tied to that. There's no other way. Sugarcoating it does not do us any justice here. It doesn't do any justice to the victims for sure. The truth does, though. And so the truth shall tell their story, and it shall set us free all the way. And I don't see why that's so hard to do, but it obviously is so very hard to do or to get in these stories. So now I'm going to go to allegedly. Well, I thought, okay, hold on. I don't have my ducks in a row, unfortunately. Let's see. Just hang tight. Thank you all. All right. Now I do. Okay. So now I could have swore I already had this tab open, but anyways, I probably do. So we're going to continue on right here. I'm trying to, it's funny when he walks into the courtroom because he walks like a freaking freak. So I don't want to miss it. So this is day 4 or part 4. See him? He walks like a damn girl. Look at his hands. You're weird. We don't like you. Your attorney / dad there. He don't like you either. He's broke. Anyways, I remember watching Nora Jasmine, and she had put something together, and she did like some funny music to it when he walked in, and I died laughing because he's funny. I hope the video quality is better. I'll have to look at how Lori's trial video turned out versus this, because I think it would be kind of the same systems if it's in Boise, Ada County. What are they doing? Swapping notes? Mm-hmm. So here's the easel. Put that water down. You don't get a drink. So this is Spencer Trammell.
All right. Thank you. Please be seated. You'll be back on the record. Took a brief recess to cool it down in here.
He likes to take recesses.
We were in the middle of direct examination of Detective Stubbs. And Mr. Wood, I think you had just admitted 17 and 18 into evidence. It looks like you have 18 on the easel right now. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed with your direct examination.
Your Honor, I wonder if I could adjust that so that I can see easel as well.
That's fine. Do you need to scoot it back towards the wall?
I like him. I like the way he controls his courtroom. Yeah, if it walks like a duck, right?
I can.
Your Honor, due to the nature of what Detective Stubbs is going to be testifying to, we'd ask that he be able to stand next to the easel and put on a mask.
That's fine. Mr. Wood, why don't you don yours while he does that?
Oh, look at that, gross. I think this is the one where he starts to fall asleep. We're boring him.
There's a laser pointer as well, Mr. Wood. I don't know if you've explained that to Detective Stubbs. Okay.
Hold on, Trace.
Hold up.
She had one at the time. Oliver, her grandson Oliver was born, and then, you know, there was one on the way. I want to say she has. There's 3 for sure. The last I checked, but that was a long time ago. So who knows? I don't know. All boys, as far as I know. I don't know.
Up here, do we, if he's going to be touching the exhibit, why don't we put some gloves on the witness here? If there's going to be anybody else that's touching it. There's some right here.
Yeah, now the kids don't need to go. I see what you're saying, Jay Blake. Yeah, right there. When it's right there, they're not there. I guess that's what you're saying. Yeah. Good eye candy. Yeah. Right. so was Detective Hermosillo and Steve Daniels, just being real. I was like, okay.
Detective, now that Exhibit 18 has been published, can you, since we took a break, can you just briefly summarize again what Exhibit 18 is and how you prepared it?
So this was an aerial photograph taking
of
this apartment complex, April 2000 is when the photograph was taken. What we did was we took,
I'll go look for it.
I made this table of contents here, which I've numbered 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. Those numbers correlate with the red triangles that I have placed on this map in 2 different locations and represent from the Google documents the location services for the Homer J. Maximus account. These latitude and longitudes correlate with these triangles. Now, also accompanied on this map, along with those records from the Excel spreadsheet, as I mentioned, 28,000 plus pages. The number here, in reference number, on the far left column of that Excel spreadsheet is the quick reference 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on down the page.
Okay, so I just want to show, 'cause I wish I could show 2 screens at once. That would be awesome. You know, so this is the apartment complex he's talking about, where Alex Cox, Lori Vallow Daybell, and Melanie Boudreau-Pulowski lived briefly. I mean, they moved to Rexburg, Arizona. They moved to Rexburg, Idaho, early part of September. And I mean, here we go. We're rolling right into their plan, right? This is their plan. This is not, I don't think it's more one or the other. I think they both led each other because they both suck. Okay. I don't know. As far as culpability and things like that. Let me see. Oh, that's not them. Hold on. Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay. So I just wish I could go into the courtyard and look at apartment 107, which was rented under, it's like it was under, Lori was living in Alex's apartment and Alex was living in Lori's apartment. As far as like legally, I want to say. And let's see. Let's try this again. 565 Pioneer. That says 595 Hancock Lane. Okay. So, okay. I see. All right. That's the apartment complex. Okay. So just trying to get a visual. Let me go back to the court hearing. If I can find it. Another thing I want to look at too, which was interesting, I found it interesting, was the satellite photo that KSLnews.com had done a big story on. Satellite photo shows Chad Daybell property on likely day of child's burial. And so this was by Dave Cawley, KSL Podcast, and Kira Fairmont, KSL TV, posted June 24, 2020. So this is before his preliminary hearing in August of 2020. And I find it interesting. It's very interesting, as a matter of fact. Okay. I don't know if y'all want to go over this. And then, yeah, let's do that. Rexburg, Idaho. A satellite captured a photograph of Chad Daybell's property on the outskirts of this eastern Idaho community, just hours after police believe Daybell and Alex Cox finished burning and burying the remains of 16-year-old Tylee Ryan on September 9, 2019. They actually got her age right. So many people, myself included in the beginning, because she had a birthday. September 24th was her birthday. And that's the day, allegedly, either the 22nd or the 23rd of September when JJ was murdered. So it's like they moved to Idaho from Arizona. Okay. And then they roll right into their plan. They go to, they go on a family outing or whatever it's dubbed as. I'm still unsure about the details around this day. It's haunting and it's disturbing because there's some pings that just, they can't get. They just can't get them or whatever their reason is. I did not learn much more at the trial for Lori Vallow Daybell. And if Chad takes a plea, I don't know how this is going to work. How are we going to find out anything more? How are we going to do this? And then Arizona had, I want to say yesterday or the other day, I don't know. I don't know why, but whenever we went live last night about them not removing the death penalty off the table for Chad Daybell, he is, the death penalty is not being removed from his case, although he wants it to. He's trying to save his life. As we all know, we know that. We know Chad's not going to do anything that unless it's in the best interest of Chad. And that's from the book of Chad. I mean, straight up. So it's just interesting. Well, but at the same time, there's some other things that were released the judge ordered on also. And that was obviously the release of Tylee Ryan's remains. Okay. And the other thing was something about I don't know the terminology. I'm not a legal expert. I'm a family member. That's all I am. And it was something about Arizona, I'm just going to call it like a gag order, but it's not. But basically, like they locked into all the evidence in in Idaho. And so, it can't be released in a FOIA doc or, a FOIA request in Idaho. And I wonder, I couldn't find those orders before we came on. So I'm just trying to kind of, figure this out. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut over here. Okay. But let me finish reading the story here. So the eye in the sky photo obtained exclusively by KSL TV and KSL's Cold podcast team includes a cluster of dark pixels at the same spot where police recovered Ryan's remains while serving a search warrant months later on June 9th. The dark pixels likely represent ground which had been recently disturbed. And I'm saying this because this does tie into this testimony. Not so much here today or, here in the preliminary hearing. It does a little, but in Lori's trial, it continues on. And they did use Apollo mapping, and that is what the story is about. It's about Apollo mapping services. They're based out of Colorado, and what they can do. Hold on, I'll play the story. I don't know where it is. I have it on my channel if I need to. It is not clear if police or prosecutors were previously aware of the image's existence. A probable cause affidavit filed in support of an arrest warrant for Daybell, made public last Friday, said investigators located the spot primarily using location data from Cox's cell phone. Eye in the sky. The photo comes from a satellite system called Pleiades 1, which was manufactured by the European Aerospace Company Bus. Oh my God, European Aerospace Company Airbus, and is operated by the French National Space Program, CNES. Pleiades is one of many Earth observation satellite systems, constantly photographing the surface of the globe for scientific and research purposes. Quote, it's a lot of construction companies, engineering companies. We get a big chunk of academics as well, said Katie Nelson. Oh, unquote, said Katie Nelson. co-owner of the Colorado-based satellite imaging reseller Apollo Mapping. Quote, we have satellite imagery that goes back to 2000 that can show you what a place used to look like. And so here's, from X or Twitter X, whatever. Okay, hold on. Okay, now it's letting me move. Let's see. I never watched this. I don't know what it's supposed to show you. I can do that. Oh my gosh. I can't scroll. Trying. Hold on. My computer's being a donkey right now. Come on. Well, let's just talk for a minute then while it catches up. Hey, catch up, computer. Catch up. Right? Prosecution usually makes them give all the details in a plea deal with cooperating evidence. I hope so. And I wonder, I just want it to be adequate, Like I'm just cynical. I've turned cynical and I hate it. I hate that I've turned cynical, but here I am. As cynical as all get out. And I hate it. It's not at all a pleasurable place to be. I just don't trust things as much. I don't. That is so high. I'm like way down here. But I don't know what's going on. My computer's acting like a donkey. Let's see. I'm trying to fix my aspect right now. Okay, let me see if it'll let me go now. Okay. Okay. I wonder where the damn story is. I mean, there's one where they did. Hold on. We're going to find it. Just give me 1 second. I watched this whole thing too the other day. We're going to go back. Hold on. Just let me play more of the trial then until I can, more of the preliminary hearing until I can locate what I need to locate. And that way it's not dead time. Come on.
This number correlates with that line on it, if you will. Next are the coordinates that Google provided for us. Next to that is the date and time that these locations were logged through Google on that account. And the very last line over here is margin or radius of error.
Yeah, I think so.
From these findings from Google.
And are all the margins of error the same?
No. Depending on the one, they range.
Sounds
you
good.
can see here, if you can see, from 4 meters.
We see you, Chad.
And a couple at 15-meter radius of error.
Now look, oh, that's where they look like each other. Watch.
Meter radius of
Look at them.
On Exhibit 18, why did you focus on the coordinates you focused on?
Yeah, why?
Mainly because of two things. These are two residents where Alex Cox resided in 107 and Lori Vallow Daybell resided in 175.
Okay. I was in
Detective Stubbs. He's good. Cool dude.
As far as the dates go, 1, 2, and 3 are dated the 9th of September, 2019.
Right, Chad?
In the early morning hours of that.
Which in hours?
What is the timestamp on? Can you point?
What's wrong with him? I mean, besides the obvious. I mean, because he was like, I don't know if he's trying to go to sleep. if he's sleepy or if he's bored or if he's tired or both, or if he's trying to analyze it,
About the dates.
or if he's passing judgment.
As far as the dates go, 1, 2, and 3
Weird.
are dated the 9th of September, 2019.
Look at his breathing
in
pattern.
the early morning hours of that day.
What is the timestamp on? Can you point to pin number 3?
Here in the parking lot.
And what is the timestamp on that?
Number 3 is 02:42 hours and 2 seconds.
Okay. And what was the date on that?
That was the September 9th,
Okay.
2019.
And can you point to pin number 2?
Pin number 2 is almost in the same location in the parking lot.
And what is the timestamp on that?
Pin number 2 is 02:42 and 11 seconds.
2:42
number 1
in the morning.
Same location with this triangle here.
Okay. And what is the timestamp on that?
That would be 03:37:22.
2:42 a.m., 3:37 a.m.
What is the margin of error on pin number 3?
Pin number 3 is at 4 meters.
What is the margin of
Judge,
error?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. He said 4 meters or 40? 4, thank you.
Oh, shut up. You saw
What is the
that?
margin?
Meters or 40? 4, thank you.
Gross. Wow, he's
Judge, I'm
gross.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. He said 4 meters or 40? 4, thank you.
What is the margin
Thank
of
you.
error
Thank you, Brown
on
Noser.
pin number 2?
4 meters.
And what is the margin of error on pin number 1?
Chad the brown nose reindeer.
Now, let's talk really quickly about the timestamp. When you receive Google records, are they in mountain time?
No.
How is the time relayed on the Google location data?
So on the Excel spreadsheet, they would be in UTC time.
Yeah, the universal time code.
UTC here
Right.
during that time of year is UTC -6 hours.
Okay.
I get so long. I'm like, what? Isn't that what Arizona goes by?
Number 8. Actually, I'm going to ask you to point to pin number 9 first.
Pin number 9 is over in this area here.
Okay.
Really interested.
What is the timestamp on pin number 9?
Pin number 9 is the
Probably
September
not.
6th,
Sore big toe.
2019 at 2:56
Oh, I talked right over that.
a.m. and 13 seconds.
Okay, and what's the margin of?
Sorry.
September 6th, 2019 at 2:56 a.m. and 13 seconds.
Okay, and what's the margin of error or radius of error on that?
15 meters.
Okay. And can you give us the same information on pin number 8?
Oh my God, I'm trying to turn the volume up.
Is the 14th of September 2019 at 01:21 and 43 seconds in the AM.
And what is the margin or radius of error on pin number 8?
That again is 15 meters.
All right, Your Honor, I'd ask to publish State's Exhibit 17 at this time.
No objection.
September 6th. There's somebody stuff. We've got noisy neighbors now. We used to not.
Easel is exhibit 17, is that correct, Mr. Wood?
Yes. And again, just to clarify for the record, taking a break, can you just briefly summarize again what State's Exhibit 17 is?
This is an aerial photograph of the Chad Daybell property.
Okay, and where is that located?
202 East 1900 South in Fremont County.
And did you prepare that summary in the same manner as State's Exhibit 18?
Yes, I did.
How many data points have you plotted on that summary?
4 data points.
Okay. Can you point to data point or location number 5?
Location number 5 is in this area here.
Okay. What is the timestamp on that?
Timestamp of September 9th, 2019 at 9:21 and 36 seconds in the AM.
Okay, what's the margin of error on that?
That would be 6 meters.
Can you point to location number 4?
This area here.
Mm-hmm. What is the timestamp on that?
Timestamp of September 9th, 2019 at 10:50.
Oh my God.
57 and 0
Sorry.
seconds in the AM.
And what's the margin of error?
5 meters.
Detective, can you point at location 7 on that summary?
Here.
Yes. What is the timestamp on location 7?
Timestamp of 09:56 and 28 seconds in the AM.
Okay. What's the margin of error on that?
4 meters.
And finally, can you
Internet sucks, I guess. What the hell? So sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear me.
We can hear you. We could hear you, Crush.
Is it still playing? It's not playing over here. It's not responding. Okay, God. Hold on. Sounds like a damn coffee maker. I tried opening a document and I should know better. It's only a year old. Damn. Come on. I hope it's playing. And it's not playing for me. It's really not doing it now. Oh. Come on. I mean, if you're going to quit, just quit. Yeah. Don't take 50 years to do it. I'm going to sign back in. I'm going to jump out and jump in if you can hear me. Come on, Pokey.
We can hear you.
number 6?
There it goes.
There you go.
In the same area, general area.
Whatever.
And
so sorry.
What is the timestamp on that?
9/23/2019.
We was buffering.
10:02:19 hours in the AM.
I need to rewind it. I don't know what I
And
missed.
What's the margin of error?
3 meters.
Thank you. Detective, I think you take your seat again.
Detective, when you've been seated, you can take off your glove and mask if you'd like.
Raw dog. I'm joking. That's bad. I think Little Brands would laugh at that.
Detective, you testified about the contents of the Homer J. Maximus Google location data.
What a name.
Are there other data points located on the Daybell property in that in the data that was given to you on your search warrant return?
There are additional data points in the area, yes.
And are there additional data points near or on the, near the Lori Vallow apartment at 565 Pioneer Road?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a reason you didn't
Oh, yeah.
map out all the data points on the Homer J Max?
What you looking at?
Google location data.
Well, the reason being is because the file is so massive that it would take, I can't even imagine how long it would take to put all the waypoints on a map.
Okay. So there's no further questions.
You about to find anything?
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Cross-examination, Mr. Pryor.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, okay, everybody. Ground yourself.
Initially, when you went out there for the interview of Miss Vallow,
Miss.
I believe that was in November, is that right?
That is correct.
And the date in November was what, officer?
The 26th.
Now, the purpose of that initial visit was a welfare check, was it not?
It was.
Okay, so it was a preliminary matter, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're a detective with which law enforcement agency?
The Rexburg Police Department.
And as the Rexburg Police Department, is it your policy that even for preliminary matters, such as a welfare check, you are required to have your body cam on?
It is not a requirement. However, since I've been issued a body camera, I always make it a practice to wear it when I go to talk to people outside the office.
And that is because you
Thank
want to
you.
accurately and correctly reflect what someone says to you. Would that be the case?
That's right.
And you want to accurately provide a record of what was transpired because people make mistakes.
There you
correct?
go.
Yes, people can make mistakes.
Oh, I gotta get it.
Police officers are
Better.
obviously people as well, and police officers make mistakes when they're in the course of doing an investigation. There are times when they may not recite things exactly the way they are. So a camera is a tool to help you do that. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I think that's more testimony than it is a question.
Mr. Pryor, what's your question?
The question is that it's a good practice to have a body cam and record a conversation.
I need to make that bigger.
Interviewing any witness, correct?
That is my personal feeling for me.
And you're
I
doing
like
that out
that.
of experience, correct?
Correct.
Now, there was some previous testimony about Mr. Cox residing in Unit 175. Do you have any information that suggests he was residing in Unit 175?
Oh, Puma there. Ugh.
I don't have that knowledge whether he was or wasn't residing, other than my body cam footage saying that he was there.
Okay. And during the time that you went there on the 26th of November, Mr. Daybell wasn't there, correct?
That day, I never saw for myself Mr. Daybell.
And there was an acknowledgement that her brother was there, though, correct?
That is correct.
And then on the second trip, I don't recall seeing whether there was an acknowledgement that Mr. Cox was there. Was he there again the second time, do you recall?
I do not know.
Okay. All right. But again, you didn't see Mr. Daybell there, correct?
That is correct.
He's just distancing. That's
And
what I get.
Your belief is that when you went to Unit 175, it was because you believed that was Lori Vallow's residence. Is that right?
That is right.
And your data points seem to suggest that you're looking at Unit 175 and Unit 107.
Correct.
And there's a reason for that, is there not?
Yes.
That's because somebody lives in Unit 107, right?
We believed one of the family members lived in
And
107.
who would that be?
Alex Cox.
And who lives in 175?
His brother-in-law.
Lori Vallow.
Daybell. It's like asking if, put your toilet paper over or under. It's Daybell or Vallow, right? It's Daybell.
So just so we put this into terms that I can understand, when you're talking about 4 meters, you're talking approximately 12 feet.
Approximately.
And when you're talking
Shut
about
up.
15 meters, you're talking about 45 feet.
He looks up every time they go to talk.
Approximately.
Okay.
He does move.
I am curious, and this is in the way of an explanation. When you're talking UC time -6, give me an example of what UC time -6 is. It looks like the clock says 3:05. So what would be an example of that?
Well, if you will, there's a point where they actually start recording time. And as you go through time zones, you gain or lose whatever an hour from the starting point of, if you will, a time starting. And then because we're in mountain time,
Right.
at that time of year, you take the general time and you subtract 6 hours from that.
So when you say 242 in pin number 2,
I'm lost.
in this example, and it's 242, do we go back 6 hours earlier?
Thank
No,
you, Olive.
You would add 6 from UTC time. You minus 6 to
So
get
if
to
I
our
could
time
If
zone.
I could ask you to go back up to the exhibit, would you mind doing that for me?
They must have their
Prior
grandkids
exhibit
next door.
17 or exhibit 18?
Well, I'm going to start with 17, then we'll go to 18 after.
Dry.
Because I think 17 is still up there, is it not, officer?
Jason asked me that yesterday about
All right, so
all
that
three.
one is
He's like, who do you
number-
think's gonna write a book first?
This is 17.
That's right. I'm sorry, maybe I misspoke. So let's talk with pin number 5. And pin number 5, you said it was on September 9th, right? And you put down the time as 9:21 a.m. Is that correct, officer?
Right,
And
Rambo.
then you put down the time of variance or margin of error, I guess is the appropriate term, based on what I've read, and margin of error is 6 meters, right? Correct.
Mhm.
So is that actually 9:21 a.m. on September 9th, or is there a additional time that needs to be added to that?
It was in our
Thank you.
time 9:21.
Okay.
Cooked ham.
However, when you
Canned ham.
talk to a carrier of a phone or Google or whoever else, they generally send you this layout in UTC time. So depending on if you're on the
Okay,
East
I'll
Coast,
back it up.
here, wherever you are,
Speaking of backing up, right? If it was a hemorrhoid, if a hemorrhoid had a face. Okay, we needed that, Rambo. Thank you. Okay, sorry. And carry on.
a carrier of a phone or Google or whoever else, they generally send you this layout in UTC time. So depending on if you're on the East Coast, if you're here,
I
wherever
refuse to
you
be
are,
serious.
you
Thank
can do that
you.
margin and
I
deduct
can't be
those
serious.
hours or add.
You
So
can't be
you're the one who
serious.
came up with the calculation as to
Thank
what
you,
the
though.
these approximate times are, is that correct?
The only thing I did was minus UTC time minus 6 to get our local time.
Okay, okay, all right. And then again, on number 7, pin number 7, what was the time on that one?
09:56 and 28 seconds in the AM.
And those points.
I
that
wish
you're
you could be
talking about
understanding.
reflect the device that
That's
was
what I
owned by
wish.
Alex Cox, is that
I wish
correct?
they couldn't murder people, but here we
Those
are.
states belong to Alex Cox.
Okay. And on the items that were set on the house, or excuse me, the
Oh my
apartments,
God.
those times and those pins were a reflection of a device that was owned by Alex Cox. Is that correct?
The same device.
Okay. All right. Thank you, officer. Well, you can return to your seat.
I'm trying to be quiet for Lisa.
Can you tell me what the range of summaries is in this particular case? In other words, the start time for which range you subpoenaed Google and the end time for which range you ended. You're reflecting about 28,000 pages of documents. I'd like to know what the range is, the start range and the stop range.
You know, I would have to actually look at the search warrant again to be sure of the dates we requested.
Well, my recollection is you admitted that. Did you not?
Bye-bye.
Search warrant 2019-86.
Okay. Do you have at least a recollection of what it may be?
From what I remember, and first part of September.
Okay.
Through December.
Through December?
Through when we served the search warrant.
Okay. All right. So we don't know how many times from September through December that those devices were on the Daybell property then, correct?
We don't have a total number at this time, no.
Are you working on that?
There is things being worked on at this time,
Are
yes.
you working on that?
I am working with members of the FBI CAS team to come up with those numbers.
Okay, so in other words, we're going to, at some point in the future, there'll be a complete analysis of every date that this particular device or devices was not only in the apartment, but also on the Daybell property. That'll be forthcoming, I can assume that, correct?
Well, I can't answer for exactly what the CAS team is doing, but they are doing additional analysis on those times and those coordinates.
Okay. And that information has been preserved in the event there needs to be someone else taking a look at that as well, correct?
That is correct.
Did you have an occasion to talk with Mr. Daybell at any time?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Did you have an occasion to talk to Mr. Daybell at any time?
No.
You hesitated. Why is that?
I was trying to remember if I had said stand right over here or whatever while he was in the kitchen. I don't exactly recall.
Okay, so there's no recorded conversation or body cam of Mr. Daybell that you have in your possession. Is that correct?
I did have my body camera on that day as well. Okay. Have I reviewed that as of the last little bit? I have not.
Have you provided that to the prosecuting attorney?
I believe he has copies.
Judge, I have nothing else at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wood, any redirect?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you, Detective Stubbs. You can be excused from the witness stand. That exhibit, which number exhibit is that? 16, thank you. Are there any other exhibits there in the witness cubicle? We'll allow cleaning to take place of the witness cubicle. Mr. Wood, who do you intend on calling as your next witness?
Your Honor, Spencer Ramos for the state. The state would next call Wynn Hill.
Say that one more time.
Wynn Hill.
Wynn Hill?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Wood, can I have the bailiff put that exhibit backwards again?
Yes.
You can leave that on there, Mr. Bailiff. If you just want to turn it around backwards and set it against the wall. Mr. Hill, if you'll come forward, stand in front of this witness chair, raise your right arm and face the clerk. Stand right there in front of the plexiglass and look at the clerk right here. Raise your right arm. You can be seated here in the witness chair, Mr. Hill. Once you're seated, Mr. Hill, you may take off your mask. Mr. Wood, you may inquire.
Thank you, Judge. And again, Spencer Ramos for the record.
Mr. Rammel, I apologize. You may inquire.
Thank you, Judge. Can I have you state your full name and spell that name for the record, please?
My name is Wynn Hill, Wynnhill.
Mr. Hill, where are you employed?
At Brigham Young University, Idaho.
And how long have you been employed at BYU, Idaho?
Just over 14 years.
And what is your current role at the university?
I currently serve as the Dean of Students there.
Does BYU, Idaho use a student management system?
We do.
Are you familiar with that system?
I am.
How so?
Yeah, I work in the student life area, and so we have a student life management system that connects to the larger student management system.
Mr. Hill, will you scoot a little closer to the microphone?
Sure.
Pull that microphone down a little bit, name it right at your chin.
There we go.
And then up at your mouth. That's great.
Great.
What information does your student management system hold?
Yeah, it holds information from the application process and other student enrollment information on a student.
Does your system allow you to look up current students attending BYU Idaho?
Yes.
Does your system allow you to look up past students
Yes.
that have attended BYU Idaho? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Does your system allow you to look up individuals who have applied but are not currently attending?
Yes, it does.
Did you check your registration system for a specific individual who requested Rexford Police Department in relation, to a missing persons investigation?
I did.
Who was that individual you checked for?
I believe they gave me the name of Tylee Ryan, Tylee Cox, Tylee Vallow. I checked all of those names with the date of birth of 9/24/02.
And can you tell me the date that you did that?
I can. It was February 28th,
And can you tell me-
2020. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where you were when you checked it?
I believe I was in my office.
On campus?
On campus, yes.
And what was the result of that check?
Yeah, we couldn't find any information on that person.
So with your testimony that names Tylee Ryan, Tylee Cox, and Tylee Vallow with the corresponding date of birth, September 24th, 2002, has never applied to BYU Idaho or has never been a student at BYU Idaho.
According to our records.
Judge, that's all I have.
No questions, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. You can be excused from the witness stand. Mr. Rammel, may this witness be excused from the court?
From the state perspective, yes.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hill, for appearing. Mr. Rammel, you can call the next witness as well.
Your Honor, I'll take care of the next witness. The state calls Melanie Gibb.
Can I talk? Just asking. I have that recorded phone call of Melanie Gibb with Sherry Dowdle. You know, where Melanie Gibb really dishes about she talks about this case and the people involved and the children and my family and, all these people involved, the victims, everybody. She's like, oh, poor, bless Alex Cox's heart, all these things. But they never show that kind of empathy or compassion or anything like that towards the victims. And it's so odd. It's backwards, right? I'm looking forward to attorney Frank Lee Pliers to use his tool on Zulima and the Melanie's as they testify. Who's that? Who's Frank? Maybe I'm late. Hey, Janelle. Good to see you. And Sue Ellen. And Sid and Spin. Everybody. Glad you're here. All rise. We got to stand up. Sit down. Oh, there's that seal, huh? They're just knee-jerk reactions too. The Grinch is gone. All right. I was like, wait, okay, I understand, I get it, but this is what we're doing. This is all on the internet for free. This is free too, Oh, hey, Janelle. I think that would be good to share for those new to the case and refresher, right? Because she's about to get on the stand and be her own Grinch in her own way. Melanie Gibb is very, very, very triggering for me, just for a lot of us, because some of us, and I gotta say that, like, when the information was coming out, any news was good news. I don't care what it was movement. It was, okay, we know this, we know that, we know this, we know that, we can move forward, right? But with Melanie Gibb, it was very short-lived and disingenuous because we soon found out that she was not so much the woman that she was presenting to the world, and she was worried about what the world thought of her. That was one of her things that she answered to Nate Eaton, right? So I did pull that up. Let me see. There's the other tab with the Daybell hearing. Okay, let's see. All right. Hold on just 1 second. We'll play that real quick because it is a refresher. The video is intended to bring. Oh, wait. Whoa. That's just what I wrote. All right. The video is intended to bring awareness to the recent murders of my family members. Charles Vallow was my uncle. Tylee Ryan was the bravest young lady I've ever known. And JJ Vallow, he was my 7-year-old autistic nephew. Tylee and JJ were murdered and found buried in shallow graves on the property of Chad Daybell on June 9th, 2009. I put 2019. 2020. They had been missing for almost 10 months prior, oh my God, I cannot talk. I wish Mercury retrograde would hurry up and pass. Prior to their discovery by Rexburg law enforcement and FBI agents, Tylee's body had been dismembered and showed evidence that someone had tried to burn her remains. JJ was buried on Chad Daybell's property as well. Law enforcement found his remains in a shallow grave and covered with concrete bricks and wood paneling. JJ's body was wrapped tightly within a large black trash bag, with another white bag covering his head. This is just my description under my video. Upon removal of the bags revealed an overt, abundant amount of duct tape covering from his nose area over mouth, down his arms and hands, and his ankles. He was wearing red pajamas. Oh God. Now that image is burned in my mind forever. That they showed at the trial. Sleepy hero. All you could see was Lee here, and Lee her, because you couldn't see the S and the L of the sleepy, and the P and the Y. You get it. I tried sketching it whenever I got back to the hotel, but I quit. Upon removal of the bags revealed it. Okay. Okay. He was wearing red pajamas and was found with a baby blue blanket. My uncle Charles had been ambushed and murdered by his brother-in-law, Alex Cox, in July of 2019. Whew, that's different, reading your own damn descriptions when you didn't know what the hell you were doing, for sure. Oh, gosh. Let me exit this full screen, and then I can share it because I can't do nothing else. Let's see. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay. Let me do this, and I'll just open it here.
Never got you involved in this. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Melanie Gibb, knew the plan before Charles Vallow was murdered by Lori Vallow and Alex Cox Pastenes.
Love you from my heart.
Oh my God. I forgot. I didn't know I did that.
Anyway, it takes months and months and months for them to figure out how to come up with a plan, basically. And I guess it comes down to it is she's frustrated him to every level. She's left. She says she puts it in your mind like, oh, look how he's behaving. He's so different now. He's this and that and this and that. Well, Charles is upset because she just tried to destroy his life. She told him he was out of town when she found out, and he was in another state. And when she flew back home, she took his truck and hid it, took all the keys and took them from him. I mean, try to destroy. I think that's a bit extreme. Like, are you sure you're supposed to do that? She goes, Melanie, the spirit's telling me exactly what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'd say, And so anyway, she tells him, I'm going to destroy. She's like, you are not Charles anymore. You are Ned. forgot his last name, Snyder. You're Ned Snyder, and you're not gonna. You are. You know, I am. She told him. I think she told him prior to this, but she was translated. She was married tomorrow night before. Already expelled. So yeah, she's already telling him this stuff, and yeah, not smart. She should have kept that information to herself. So he gets me to come over to his house.
Why?
He breaks into the house, and she's picking up the kids. He still is key. It's a lot of drama in that. But anyway, he says to me, and I thought it was Lori, but he had her cell phone, so it freaked me out. And it's him, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I talked to him, and he's like, you know, Melanie, Lori's crazy. Like, she thinks that I'm this guy named Ned, and that she's trying to destroy my life. And I'm like, I just don't know what to say. Freaking out. Yeah, because I think my friends are good. She's seen Jesus. You know, I'm really believing that she really saw these things. And I'm just gullible gets. And she stuck on me like Velcro. She was such a good friend to me. You know what I mean? Like, she was close to me. So I just stood there and didn't know what to say to him. And then he hugged me and he was crying. Look back now and go, oh my gosh. Anyway, so basically she sets it up where he sets it up. He's going to come into town, you know, when he passes away. And they have a shoot down, you know, and he dies. And
a whole shoot down.
Out of self-defense, but the police officer told me that it was not you know, the guy that Alex that shot him, he didn't even really get hit that hard in the head. So, and you know, Alex, bless his heart, who passed away, he just thought he was doing a favor to his sister. He didn't really care so much, you know, well, to self-defense, yes. Well, because they planned it. I mean, like so she knew that Charles was coming to town. And then she invited Alex over that night to spend the night. They're going to come and try to kill her. I said, well, why are they we're going to try to kill you? And she says, well, because I have a $3 million policy on my head, and my brother and my husband and my nephew are all zombies now, and they all want me dead. Oh, yeah, it gets crazy. So anyway, they have the shoot down and everything. And she grabs his phone, and they fight over that. And then Tylee, her daughter, picks up the bat and tries to defend herself or hit him or whatever. She doesn't like him anyway. And she doesn't like anybody. And so anyway, they shoot him. And so I talked to the police officer. He goes, you know, she was really happy for somebody that just had her husband shot dead. You know, she was like, oh, how are you? She's real positive and upbeat. And I was like, oh, that's not normal behavior to somebody that gets blown away in your front room. And I mean, that would traumatize me. But anyway, so she's told to move up to Rexburg. The Lord tells her, move up to Rexburg now. She takes Tylee and JJ with her. Tylee and JJ are up there. I know she's up there with both of them because I can hear them on the phone in the background while she's packing and moving in. And then she tells me, I don't know, within a week or two that Tylee is now at BYU. He's up there. She's up there at school. So I go up to visit her, and I see that Tylee is not there. And I said, hey, you know, Tylee's, I mentioned again, like, Tylee went to BYU. And she goes, yeah, but she gave me this really creepy look. Yeah, it was creepy. It was like, yes, she's dead, really. And yeah, almost that kind of look. But then I didn't know what to think about it at the time. I was like, why do I feel creepy when she looks at me like that? You know? So anyway, then she tells me, I get there in September 23rd weekend, and JJ's missing. No, JJ's not missing. Sorry. JJ's there, and she tells me he's a zombie now. And so was Tylee. Yeah, so people that are zombies, they don't end up staying alive. And so I say, okay, she says, I'm just going to give him back to Kay, the grandmother. And I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. Then you guys can move on with your missions. Just tell her to take Kay. You think she'll take JJ? I mean, he's a lot of work. Do you think she'll take, no, yeah, I'm hoping so. I'll just have to make something up. I said, well, tell her you're sick or something and that you just have some illness and that you're not able to watch after him. So, she said, he's a handful. And plus it's not her kid anyway, right? Adopted him from Kay's family. Yeah, as a baby. Yeah, he was a drug baby. And she was a really good mom to him.
He's not a real person.
She was really patient with him and very loving. I saw her. She's very loving to him. And, she was, hands down, she was a great mom, very patient with that kid. So, anyway, so she told me, she's like, yeah, JJ is at grandma's house. Yeah, she went. So after I left,
about cancer.
Right after I left, and she said within a week or so, that he had gone to Kay's house, and that that's where he was. So then Tammy dies, and then she's in Hawaii when it happens, and I call her in Hawaii, and I say, hey, guess what? Tammy just died. do you know this? And she goes, no, I haven't heard it yet. And I said, well, what happened? What happened to Tammy? And she goes, well, she was a zombie 2 weeks before she died. Like, really? She goes, yeah, she was starting to question our relationship. She was wondering if he was having an affair. I said, oh. And so, and I said, well, how did she die? She goes, well, we just had to do what we could to take her out of her spirit. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking she said a prayer and her spirit went home. That's what I'm thinking, right? And she did some kind of like blessing or something, like people can do that, I guess. So anyway, then this is where it all changes for me. And so then I get a call from Chad 2 days before Thanksgiving. Hey, Melanie, Rexburg Police is going to call you. Don't answer. And I went, what? And my stomach just dropped. And I said, what happened? Well, the police are over at Lori's house, and they're looking for JJ. And she told them that JJ was with you. And I went, what? I'm like, well, I thought JJ was at Grandma's house. He's not there, is he? And they're like, he's like, no, he's not. I'm like, what? And I don't know. Honestly, I did not know what to think at this time. I was so shocked. Like, my whole spirit was like, what happened? I was freaking out inside. And then I get a phone call from the police. Of course, I ignore it. And then Lori calls me, and she's like, oh, no, everything's fine. I just told the police with you and that you're going to take them down to Arizona. And I'm like, why? Like, what happened? And she's like, well, JJ was, we thought that JJ was going to get kidnapped by Kay, and so we're protecting him, and which is a lie, and which I believe is a lie person. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, well, I gotta go. And I just didn't know what to say. I was just so dumbfounded by it all. And anyway, so I go down to Arizona, and her brother's down there, just down the street from me, because he's marrying my friend who's in my ward. Her name's Sulema. And so I said, hey, are you around? And so anyway, I said, hey, let's meet. We need to talk. So I said, hey, Alex, I said, do I want to know what happened to JJ? And he says, no, you don't want to know. I went, what? She goes, I told Lori she should have never got you involved in this. I'm like, yeah, she should have never got me involved. That was not smart. And then she goes, I told Lori she should have never got you involved in this. I'm like, yeah, she should have never got me involved. That was not smart. And then he said, yeah, the police ransacked my house, took my guns. And I'm like, I wonder why they did that. I couldn't figure that out at the time. And I just figured, they kept telling me that, they had a lot of bad people working for them, that now the cops are zombies. And so anyway, so I'm starting to get like really creepy feelings. And then, so anyway, one of my friends, he was with me. He goes home and he calls me up, and I'm like, he's like, Melanie, I'm really worried about your testimony. I'm like, what? Why are you worried about my testimony? And I'm like, okay, I need you to be a friend. Let's talk. I said, okay, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the zombie thing. What do you think? And he knew what was going on and stuff. And I said, I don't have a testimony of it. Like, I'm not sure what to think about all this stuff. And he goes, oh my gosh, me too. He goes, I just never have a testimony of Chad and Lori. And so all of a sudden, this heaviness that was on him was leaving him. Just the heaviness of he'd been trying to pray about if they were really who they were. And he was not getting an answer about it. And anyway, the heaviness leaves him. And it's David Warwick. You know who he is, right? He was the guy that was speaking at Dreams and Visions when you were watching. Didn't you watch? Yeah, he was the one that was speaking, the guy with the brown hair. He was speaking about his visions. Him and I are dating. But yeah, he's such a sweetheart. I really like him. But anyway, he's been questioning all of this because he's really had amazing visions. And he's like, this is really not comfortable for me, Melanie. Like, this is really jacked up. And anyway, we talked till 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like coming to Jesus, and I was feeling the stomach, that deep pit stomach thing, the wrong, feeling it gut going, something's wrong. So I call Sulema, and I'm like, hey, Sulema, like, what did Alex say? I'm getting a bad feeling. I'm not sure what to think about this. And she goes, well, I don't, she just told me what her testimony was of Chad and how he got it. I gave her a blessing, made her also part of the 144,000 and said she was translated too. And then said she basically started having visions after this. Okay. She had a testimony of Chad that he was a real visionary. So I said, well, what did Alex tell you? What happened? And she said, well, all he said to me was, you don't want to know. No. He said, they won't be able to be found. He won't be able to be found. I said, you know what? I'm not really feeling good about this, Savannah. I said, you know what? I'm not really feeling good about this, Savannah. And she had just married him. And because, that Chad and Laura were like, get married, hurry, you're part of the 145,000. And so they got married quickly. And so anyway, it was not good. And so I said, I'm going to have to call the police. Like, I'm feeling really bad about this, And my gut is screaming at me, and I don't think Heavenly Father's, pleased with me right now. So anyway, so I go fly up to see David because now I'm starting to feel insecure about how safety I'm feeling at the time because I know he's up the street, Alex is, and I'm starting to feel uncomfortable with the idea of now I'm going to report him to the police and he can go to jail. And so I just leave town and go up to Dave, and Dave just ministers to me like the whole week. I mean, he is there for me. And I am like heavy with energy, super heavy. And I tell the police, I said, I'd like to talk to you. And he goes, well, when you get back to town, I'd like to talk to you. And so called up the Rexburg police. Okay, so I got to back up. I was speaking a whole bunch. So I called them, and then they said they'd talk to me later when I got back in town in Gilbert. So I decided to call Lori and Chad, and I recorded it. And I said, hey, why did you tell the Rexburg police that JJ was me when he was not with me? And she says, well, I just did that for your safety. I didn't want you to know where he was so that you would be safe. And, because, just the situation's really uncomfortable and that, we're trying to take JJ and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, you told me he was going to Kay's house. And well, we did that for your safety. And I said, you know what? I believe that you and Chad are being deceived. And I said, you're a core whore. And they said, well, you call me a core whore? And I said, yeah, this is like a core whore. And I said, this is like a core whore. And, carnal desires. That's why I did this, because of the carnal desires. And I said, she goes, you saying I did this because of carnal desires? I said, yes, you and me know us both, hun, that you are very carnal. Because she has a very high libido. So I knew she's carnal. And, And so, and I said, the scriptures say that the Lord said in Doctrine and Covenants section 3, that if you would have followed him, he would have protected you against all the fiery darts. I said, if you guys would have been obedient, you would have been protected from all the fiery darts. The Lord does not work in darkness. The Lord would have had your back. And I said, well, no. And she's like, well, she compared herself to Ether that hid in a rock, Alma that fled, and Moroni at the end of his life fled. She compared prophets. And she's like, exactly. I'm like, oh boy. And she was not happy with it. I said, you are wresting the scriptures. I read the scriptures. You think I'm resting them? I said, you are resting them. You know what that means, right? Yeah. And I was like, and you are. That's what you're doing. And I said, I am concerned. She goes, you know how much I love you. I said, I am concerned for your soul and your salvation. Yeah, and I did not hold back. It was like a 20-minute conversation. I recorded it and I sent it to the police. And I was like, you just know for my record, I didn't have the kid, And but her goal is that she thought that a big earthquake was going to happen every month last year. She was told by Moroni that it was going to happen, and so therefore it didn't matter what happened to anybody or everything because life was just going to change. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so the police, I've talked to them, and they're basically, Chad is like texting people and calling people still. Yeah, they can track him and stuff. So they just a matter of getting evidence on him, I guess, now. But, yeah, and so I hope that I don't have to go and testify. I'm hoping that won't happen. But anyway, so what have I learned? I've learned so many things. This is one thing that I've learned. I started thinking about the scripture from James where he talked about so the scripture that says, for James. He wants for nothing, perfect patient hath her perfect work, wanting nothing. The problem is that when we want something and we want something and we want something, there's a counterfeit that comes along. Joseph Smith wanted to give him the inheritance. He gave him the plate. He got in trouble as well. The Lord is trying to teach us is that we can't please our fellow man. We have to quit pleasing our fellow man and put God first. And so I started thinking of years, I believe he said in a conference that I happened to be at. It's like 10 years I went to the Lord. I want to heal. I want to heal. I want to heal. I finally waited. Well, so this is where the Lord comes in. He's like, oh, here comes the counterfeit. And they open the door to the doctrines of devils. Yeah. So this is how they come in. So all this energy work. Now, I used to kind of be a fan, a little believe in it. And I came to the conclusion from all my experiences that those things are to be taught and shared by the Holy Ghost. And that these people are opening dark doors. I think their light, it's bringing in darkness. And hey, okay. So I started really thinking about how this was affecting many people. Julie Rowe got really out of control. And then he didn't even like her at the end. He was like, didn't like her. So anyway, she's now put a podcast out about him and Lori. It's most disgusting. And she not only says he's angry, she's like, no, Chad and me are friends. We've been friends for a long time. And I know that my angels have told me that the kids are safe and they're playing on the beach and everything's fine. She's not going to look good when they show up dead. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. She's out of control. Her aura was gone. My stupid earphones off. I'm in earphone mode. Anyway, so we're like a prideful group of preppers. You know that? So prideful. Like we think, well, if everybody doesn't know what we know, then they're asleep and they're just look at them. And so we just judge. I'm like, that doesn't sound like very Christ-like. So it's been a little disturbing for me to see this movement go on. And here, I'm just going to put the headphones on so they'll quit changing over. Not distracting from their mission being together. Their whole thing is they want to be together. So I'm not stopping them from being together, so they don't have any reason popping me off. Of course. And the Lord says, well, if you keep my commandments. Anyway, I've learned that we're very prideful people, and we need to be repenting of just believing in anything, and just really we need to get back to the basics. And I tell you this, hey baby, I am so done with groups. Done. And this has taught me to just keep my change of heart and focus on beautiful things and help my family and keep the commandments and do come follow me and keep it simple. And if you want to get revelation, you don't have any business out seeking for your second comforter when you don't even know how to get along with people. I've been ordaining people to the 144,000. Altar in this house. Altar. Please don't share this on social media. It's just for safety. Sad. It's so sad. You can know how sickened I've been by this. The first 2 months, I was like, I couldn't eat for the first 3 days. I just couldn't even eat. I was so disturbed greatly. And I've been in touch with Melanie, her niece that got involved, and I've been trying to call her and help her, and she's just really jacked up. Like, she lost her kids, she got divorced, and she's up in Rexburg alone. Everybody else abandoned her. Sad. Yeah, it's so sad. Yeah, it's really sad. I don't know. I try not to ask. I mean, I'm not a super nosy person, so I try not to ask him too many questions. But I could have asked. I should have, but I didn't. Told him, I said, that he's talking to people on the phone every day, right? He's asked about it. He goes, oh yeah, we're very aware of it. So yeah, they could have gone to Hawaii because she loves Hawaii, so they could be in Hawaii. Oh yeah. I know. It's sad, everybody, Chad was such a nice guy. And he did have a hard time looking people in the eyes, though. Can't look somebody in the eyes, there's a reason. I know. It's so much. I've been telling people, as I've been sharing a lot with my friends and telling them, they've been shocked, because they know Chad. A lot of them know Chad personally. And I said, he's pride. It's just prideful. It's all prideful. We want. That's when the adversary comes after us. So we have to be so careful. And, the Lord is teaching me, all about pride through all of this, and how just Anyway, I did have a dream that warned me about deceptions, and it was a lion chasing me in my dreams. I came to understand it through other people. So my weakness is that I love because I have such a love for people, and I want to help people. It's my nature. I help people too much. I get to the point where I leave the tree of life to partake of the fruit, and I leave it and go try to get people to come back to the tree of life. And that's where my sin is I'm leaving the tree of life to go help people that are off and down. And Lehi never left the tree. So the Lord gave me this cool dream about this lion coming after me, and every time it was going to eat me, and I'd always wake up with screaming. Well, I didn't scream when I woke up, but I'd go, ah, and then I wake up. So I started to figure out it was about helping people. And so it's a long story how I figured that out, but I know it's true. And when this last portion happened where I cut my friends off and just said, you can't be a part of my life anymore, the way I handled them. And that night about the lions again, this time the lion came after me. Instead of screaming and turning around, I turned and I said, just believe in him. Just believe in him. Just believe in him. And then I see Jesus Christ. And he is standing there, and I walk towards him, and then he goes to the cave. And then I walk through the cave to where he was, and then he goes to the exit where the door is, and it opens up, and it's light coming out of it. Yeah. And I go, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I finally believed in Jesus Christ enough to cut these people off of my life, and this is what the dream was about. Time goes by, and I'm now realizing I am in the cave now. He was showing me the future, this cave now, and this is a cave. But the good news is there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so I'm like, I can't believe he showed me already that. And it was, but the thing what troubles me, or I don't understand, is he led me through the cave. Like I followed him. I followed him into the cave. He didn't follow me. I followed him. Did you want me to go through that? People like, yeah, getting so bad. And I've told everybody, no more groups. And all my friends, I'm telling you, everybody that I talk to are like, oh my gosh, I feel so sick. I need to repent. Well, at least I went through this because they would have never repented had it not got to this level. If there was no deaths involved and you like this, nobody would have ever known. It leads to bad things. So in a way, Chad and Lori were they were a blessing to many people to help them see how jacked up this is and how off they are. And I hope that Julie Rowe at some point will come to the conclusion that she's off. I would love to talk to her. I have friends that know her personally, but I don't feel inclined to talk to her at all. Just don't feel that. Very strong-willed. And to another strong person like me, being a female, I don't think she'd like me very much. And so, anyway, I'm good friends with one of her really close friends, and him and I are close friends, but I haven't talked to her since he's been really involved with her. I've kind of cut ties with him because he tells her everything going on in my life. Yeah, so anyway, I've been humbled. I've been broken down. I mean, holy cow. Just not been fun. But anyway, I feel peace now. The Lord, I did receive a blessing from a man who's a good man here locally. His wife is amazing, and his children are just a beautiful family, man. And I just said, hey, I need a blessing. I've got some heavy stuff going on in my life. I said, I don't have time to talk to you about it because you got a kid that's sick right now, and I can't, have a chance to talk. And he gave me a blessing, and he said, he didn't even know what was going on. He said, the Lord is telling you to go back to your core beliefs. I was like, oh, interesting. And he said, there were people that are going to be criticizing you, but you should not listen to them. You need to turn the cheek and go forward. Yeah, and he said, you need to take a step back, and you need to heal, rest, and take care of your family. And you need to go read First Vision. And, I read the whole Joseph Smith history in the temple. And you know what Joseph Smith did? He said there was a great excitement in the land, and he did not engage in the great excitement. He decided to go to the Lord and ask the Lord himself. Oh, Joseph, you were true to us, Joseph. True. I'm so thankful. Beautiful. So anyway, the guy finished the blessing, and he goes, I'm so sorry, and it's not me. I'm so sorry, but I feel like the Lord was chastening you. And I said, yes, he has been. You're right. No, it's not you. It's me. And he goes, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, you're fine. Just, I know you're right. He goes, the Lord is very aware of the situation. I said, oh yeah, he's very aware. He was so in tune, wasn't he? He was so in tune with what the Spirit was saying, whispering to him. He's a visionary man too. So neat. Oh, it is. I've had a hard marriage for 25 years, and the Lord told me last year, you can leave now. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? I was so excited. I couldn't help but to be joyful. In prison for 25 years. And I was like, I wrote the book and I did the change and I did all that. And there was no change in him. Like, I was like, come on. They don't change. They don't change. I thought they change when you have a change of heart. No, they don't, Melanie. They don't necessarily change. The change is about you. It's not about anybody else. I'm like, oh, that was hard. But, I feel so happy and relieved not to be in that relationship anymore. Under mercy, it's but no, I'm good. I'm doing good. And David is amazing. And, him and I are super compatible. And we're both overzealous. That's our problem. That's why we go. You know what? So we figured this out. If you're overzealous, then you go too much beyond the mark and too excited about things of God. And then he was teaching us to bridle your passions. Oh, we are so not bridling our passions when we get so excited about things. And the Lord was trying to teach us, you need to bridle your passions so that you will have love for your fellow man. And I'm like, oh, okay. That memo. I just always ignored that one. Yeah, so just remember when you really want something bad to make sure it's what the Lord wants. Just don't listen to people anymore that tell you about the future unless, like it's a personal one-on-one conversation or something like that. Even then, it's, you gotta get your own revelation. And I'm done. I threw Chad's books away. I just chucked them in the garbage can. I said to the police officer, I said, for being a visionary, ma'am, he sure didn't see this coming. You're right. He didn't see this coming. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Don't know about that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I tried to talk to his bishop, but he just moved wards when he married Lori. So he moved so quickly. Never met him. Yeah, I never met him. So. Wow. It's sad. I don't think the kids are alive. It's sad. They are. It's just sad. They got repenting to do. They got to make it right. Got to get everybody to forgive them on the other side of the veil. Yeah. Oh yeah. You end a life. That's like they didn't get a chance to live here. Their mortal probation, and it lessens it, and that's why it's so serious.
Oh my God. Anybody else want to just hurl her across the damn room, right? That's why I put this comment back up. I feel peace. She needs more time to repent. Evidently, I put this together. The world will not be destroyed by evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. Okay. This is when I was first learning how to do.
See, name 10 things you like about me right now. Frick you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Lori's like, uh-oh, what's next? Okay. All right. I was looking for the meeting, or I always call it the, hold on, let me come back to StreamYard. Let me come over here. I always look for, I always revert back to that podcast that Lori, Chad, and Melanie did together. And I always just called it come to Jesus meeting, come to my Jesus meeting. It's so telling what they do say. Like just now I caught where Melanie Gibb talks about, like this. Yeah. Do you really think it would have mattered to Chad if their horoscope signs were the worst combination possible? He would have found a way around it, no doubt. And I agree with you 144,000%, right? It's just interesting that that's what was included in trial testimony. That is something I did learn, was about those searches. And it's just interesting to me. I just wonder, I try to figure out where it's coming from, why they're doing what they're doing, where are they getting all this stuff, like Melanie Gibb talking about this, Lori's libido being high. That's that vibration stuff, the energy work. And I mean, I'm not here to give energy. I'm not here to give anybody any any label, or you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. And it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of here, a little bit of there. And I just find it so interesting. It's so interesting. Hold on. Yeah, Melanie, she does struggle with her emotions. She had a hard time knowing how other people felt. I agree with that. Is it like, do y'all sense that, or, do you understand, or just do you get it, or take it like they're trying to learn how to have empathy, or they're trying, like they don't know what empathy is, maybe? And she has a son, and I don't want to throw any shade on him at all, or any of her children. I'm in agreement with, I forget who said it, I think it was Donna. We worry about their children and their children. I worry about these people being around children. And what if, the next second coming comes around, the call out, whatever you want, whatever it is. And what if that happens again? Because it has, and it will, unfortunately. I just want to know as much as I can about it. I want to, I don't know how to say it. It puts meaning behind the murders and deaths. This is, of Charles, Tylee, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. It puts meaning, it makes their deaths not be in vain. And that is something that I vowed to do, was to make sure that their deaths would not be in vain. That dream I had of my uncle, and this was, prior to the children being found, that this would uncover, their deaths would uncover something far more dark and far more sinister, and that their deaths would not be in vain. And I vowed to see that through. It's not easy. It's not pretty. It's not even cute. And I have to find humor, because this is the dark world of murder. It's not pretty. It's not funny. It's not humorous. It's so dark, and it is so sinister. It's far more dark and it's far more sinister than anything else. So I do have to find humor here, because this is my community and I love you guys. And this is just how I deal with the pain and the grief. I'm not expecting everybody to understand. I don't want you to understand, I don't, this doesn't feel good. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, no maternal feeling. Olive, I know. Yeah, Melanie's son, he's high functioning. But so whenever she does testify, and oh my gosh, let me mute myself real quick. And so she does testify in the preliminary hearing. And John Pryor does go, he questions Lori about, not Lori, he questions Melanie about her son. And she gets real defensive. And I find it so interesting how, in one hand, you know what it is to be a mother, Melanie Gibb. You know what it is to have a child, even an adopted one. They're real too, okay? Even if he's a drug baby, he was a real human life. I don't know. I try to get it. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's like I try to understand them, and maybe they try to understand, the other side of it, I don't really know. Maybe we'll never know, but I just won't stop till I do. Yeah. It's so good to see you, Okie dokie. I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Yeah, I agree. Sit and spin. Humor is a stress reliever. It doesn't condone. Oh my God, right? Oh yeah. Please murder my family. Please rate all my family, my entire lineage, and trick us out. Please. It's awesome. It's fun. It feels really awesome. Right? Said me never. It's just my way of dealing with it. Nobody gets to tell anybody else how to grieve. Nobody gets to tell you how to grieve. I'm not talking to you, and just in you in general. Nobody gets to tell us how to grieve. Yet we do. And I say we, I'm not better than anybody else. Oh, right? This is like working 50 jobs right here. I swear. I'm just doing these things and I still last night, y'all, that's 2 nights in a row I've tried to tell y'all something about Goel, that guy I follow who's doing the investigation into the David Hamblin case, right? He's another Mormon therapist who actually admitted to, I'm going to use abbreviations, SAing, the A word, S, and then the A word, his daughters. And I got to share this with you because it brings Tom Harrison into this also. So not only did I find, it's just a connection. Do what you will with it. I'm not saying it's either here nor there. I'm not saying anything. Just take the information, leave the information, whatever you got to do with it, filter through it. Let's just be responsible about it. But so I want to share that with y'all before we go. That way I don't strike out for a third night in a row. So this has to do with Goel. That's the name he goes under. And he investigations in ritual abuse. Okay. And so he had published on December 18th. I know it's 21st. I've been like, okay, how do I do this? It doesn't really fit in, so to speak. A lot of people are like, well, what's this got to do with Chad and Lori? Again, what did Tim Ballard have to do with Chad and Lori? Okay. What did Ruby and Jody have to do with Chad Daybell and Tim Ballard? What? They all go together. It's so crazy. Okay. Gordon Bowen. Oh, so yeah, he does Goel on Substack. I subscribe to him. It's kind of like Patreon, I guess you could say. And as he's investigating this horrible ABUSE case from back in the 90s. Okay. And this is that one that came out on Fox 13 News Investigates with Adam Hurwitz, talking about the Buffalo baby of David Levitt. He was a high ranking politician / Mormon in, I want to say Utah County. But anyway, he was like a prosecuting attorney. He moved, however, since with his wife, Shalom Levitt, which spells Molech backwards. I'm just saying almost. It almost spells it backwards. It's weird. But they just moved. Well, they didn't just move. They moved to Scotland and because they bought a whole freaking castle, a whole castle. Okay. I'm just throwing that out there because it's just odd. I don't know, but he comes from a long line of Levitts in Utah. Jacob Levitt, Michael Levitt, David Levitt. There's another one, but I can't remember his name. Well, Gordon Bowen, I had shared with you guys back whenever they excommunicated Tim publicly, the church, whenever the church excommunicated Tim publicly. So this was like September, mid-September. And I had shared an article from Goel, the guy I follow right here on Substack. So did John DeLand. And I was like, wait, That's crazy. Like to me, it kind of, because it had no talk of Tim Ballard in it. That's what I was kind of digging for. I'm just kind of like, why am I drawn to this? Why do I feel the need to dive into this? It's horrible. I got enough to deal with, right? But here we are. And it seemed like such a monstrous task back then. But as time has gone on, it's allowed me to kind of dive off into other rabbit holes. They're bizarre and they're religious. Gordon Bowen was a man about town in New York City, an advertising prodigy who had managed to lie, cheat, and steal his way to the top of his craft. He knew what a good idea looked like, even if he didn't have a good idea of his own. His personal life was a series of contradictions. Bowen was outwardly a pious Latter-day Saint who openly referenced his faith in personal and professional conversations. Inwardly, Bowen was a man deeply conflicted about his attraction to other men. He had pursued his co-worker, Lincoln Kevin Kelly, with such obvious fervor that Kelly would be warned by a co-worker, Tom Bogner, that Bowen was in love with him. Okay, Bowen also cruised the gay bars and nightclubs of New York City, seeking interactions with other gay men. His homosexuality was an open secret in both New York and Salt Lake City, as he spiraled and devolved over the years. The inner conflict of Bowen's lives and lies would manifest in myriad ways throughout his life. His near lifelong obsession with high school classmate Barbara Timothy, you want to put a pin in that, was juxtaposed, I can't talk, against his clear attraction to other men. And Bowen's relationships with women could be seen as a means of publicly portraying himself as a normal man and a faithful Latter-day Saint. He wore many masks, but those who knew him saw the masks slip off time and time again. His secretary, Michelle Avantario, witnessed the teenage boys who loitered around cafeteria at work, waiting on Bowen to show up and take them back to his apartment. She witnessed Bowen's clumsy attempt to conceal his homosexuality, which continued to manifest in Bowen's, I don't even know what that word is, his advances towards male coworkers at every advertising agency he worked at over the years. Avantario testified to the fact that Bowen imported boys from Utah to New York City, often promising them financial remuneration. He has it spelled wrong, I think, for staying with him at his apartment. So he'd pay boys to stay with him in his apartment. He would use like these Melvin Fish, Kissy Watkins. Len Packer has reported on this in the satanic ritual abuse video in his op-ed series. Interesting. Okay. She also testified that Bowen had flirted with her boyfriend, telling him that he had hoped the boyfriend would come back to his apartment and R-word him. The boys in his Hartsdale neighborhood repaid Bowen's attentions by breaking into his residence and smearing the wall with feces. Okay. Much like Bowen's gay lovers in Salt Lake and repeatedly, I'm sorry, it's just broken. Okay. Much like Bowen's gay lovers in Salt Lake and repeatedly broken into his home to destroy it during quarrels. To the Salt Lake City police, Bowen's professions of evil spirits breaking into his home were an obvious attempt to cover up a gay lover's spat. To Bowen's coworkers, he appeared brilliant as a pitchman, less than competent as a creative, and utterly Machiavellian as an employee and boss. Bowen dispatched his rivals in opposition within the Church of Jesus Christ and Bonneville Communications, which is owned by the church, with ease, first ingratiating himself to the individuals he sought to displace, learning their secrets and weaknesses, and then leveraging that knowledge to remove anyone who might have opposed his vision. Just know that right there, what I just read, you will see a pattern of time and time again. it's like a blackmail in a way, like I've got some dirt on you, Bowen was a man on a mission, one that he saw as emanating direct. Oh my God. Bowen was a man on a mission, one that he saw as emanating directly from God. He was a man chosen by God to serve the church, to advance its agenda, and to draw people to the covenant. Isn't that interesting? The inner conflict between Bowen's desires to be a faithful Latter-day Saint and his sexuality tore him apart mentally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, personally, and professionally. At every stop on his journey, he became known for failing to show up to critical client meetings, for showing up to commercial shoots exhausted to the point of falling asleep on set. Bowen spent his nights pursuing the inner desires that drove him, barely able to maintain himself in professional settings. Those desires were a mixture of sexual and spiritual issues, an amalgamation that proved toxic to Bowen's reputation and relationships. He stood before his ward, praising his wife, Barbara Timothy, as a wonderful lover, all the while making thousands of calls to gay escort services and pursuing gay P sites on the internet. His finances were in shambles, as Bowen spent thousands of dollars on his prurient appetites and shopping sprees, struggling to maintain the appearance of a successful advertising executive, even as he spent prodigious amounts of money on his vices. He rarely attended sacrament meetings, but he always invoked his faith, even while pursuing gay male coworkers and subordinates. Bowen's pursuit of adult men was noted within the New York advertising community, but his fascination with children would also be noted. The teenage boys he imported from Utah, or the boys he pursued in his neighborhood, or the children of his coworkers and friends were the objects of Bowen's obsessive affection. He promised one boy he would pay for his dental work if that boy would stay in his apartment with him. He openly solicited the children of his coworkers to stay overnight in his home, even as their parents prepared to leave after dinners and parties. In order to finance his extravagances and his vices, Bowen reportedly resorted to abusing his expense account at his agencies. He was he's in advertising. Even as his reputation plummeted and the New York advertising community came to view him as emblematic of Mormon hypocrisy, Bowen continued to spend money to maintain the facade of a faithful Latter-day Saint. Michelle Avantario claimed that she had seen a six-figure check Bowen had written to the church after his solicitous letter to a gay coworker became public knowledge. For Gordon Bowen, money and status could overcome any sin he might have committed in the eyes of his church. The fact that his reputation rested in large part on work that he had plagiarized from others was of no concern. His dishonest claim that he had graduated from the University of Utah, like the other lies he had told throughout his life, never came back to burn Gordon Bowen. His entire life was a series of lies haphazardly constructed to conceal the inner reality that Bowen was loath to have exposed. He played his coworkers and associates against each other, right? Giving different stories to various parties, only to be exposed as a liar when those associates inevitably began talking to each other about Bowen's stories, realizing that he was an inveterate liar. Sounds like Tim Ballard, actually, once those women started talking to each other. In order to balance his public persona with his private reality, Bowen would construct an elaborate mythology for himself. His journals contain Bowen's musings about why he sinned, why he lied. Heavenly Father had foreordained. That's a word there that Mike Stroud uses a lot. Okay. Heavenly Father had foreordained and predestined him to sin so that he could learn the secret combinations and codes that were necessary to fulfill his mission within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Gordon Bowen lied to no one as much as he lied to himself. He invoked the language of faith, speaking fluently about prayer and meditation on the things of God even as he pursued sin. A recurring theme in the lives of Bowen and his associates within the confederation of satanic groups operating under the auspices of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is that in order to understand and achieve exaltation, one must have a deep knowledge of both good and evil. In the minds of Gordon Bowen and others like him, Heavenly Father is an individual with deep fluency in both good and evil, and the LDS Church of Satan. Hold on. They dry my mouth. Gordon Bowen. In the minds of Gordon Bowen and others like him, Heavenly Father is an individual with deep fluency in both good and evil, and the LDS Church of Satan viewed evil as a concept within with its own positive existence. I'm getting Jody Hildebrandt vibes right now. Bad. And you should. Makes sense. The rest of the world might have viewed evil as a perversion of the good that Heavenly Father established, as is the case when married couples commit adultery or when they use institutions and doctrines established to promote righteousness in order to conceal their wrongdoing. Gordon Bowen and his like-minded accomplices viewed evil as standing apart on its own from good. So it's like on its own. A monolith to be explored, navigated, and intimately known, even mastered. These were double-minded men and women, unstable in all of their ways. They were inevitably likely to end up divorced, excommunicated, and disgraced. Their children and grandchildren would inevitably make allegations of horrific A-B-U-S-E, with ritualized components. Their former friends would resort to filing affidavits detailing astonishing levels of impropriety, illegality, and sexual misconduct as a means of distancing themselves from their own culpability. The friends of Gordon Bowen who lined up against him in his divorce instead I'm sorry. The friends of Gordon Bowen who lined up against him in his divorce insisted on the one hand that they had seen signs of his instability and bad character, but they denied ever participating in Bowen's improprieties, even though their associations with him stretched over decades. Those friends speculated that Bowen might have M-word their children, as was the case with Khalil Kelly, intimated that Bowen might have abused the A-word her children. Michelle Avantario wrote of Khalil Kelly's children calling her in the middle of the night, begging her to come back and stay with them in order to be spared from Gordon Bowen's services as an overnight babysitter. Can you imagine? Incredibly, Avantario acknowledged that she had left the Kelly children with Bowen on another occasion after that incident. Oh my God. Avantario outlined her fear that the police would one day find the bodies of boys buried under Bowen's home. Okay. Tom and Annie Pratt also told of Bowen's overtures towards their children, and Annie Pratt wrote of a strange encounter with, quote, strange, sickly boys, unquote, at Bowen's Salt Lake City home. According to Pratt, she and her mother noticed the boy while waiting for the start of a dinner. The boy told them he was staying with Bowen, and Pratt claimed that she and her mother both drew the conclusion that something wasn't right. What Pratt and her mother did was what Pratt and her mother did not do was notify the police or DCFS. Pattern. Gordon Bowen was able to navigate the world openly and audaciously, due to the silence of his coworkers, friends, and associates, right? All of whom attested to his inappropriate conduct and unethical behavior during his divorce, even if they had previously done nothing substantial to stop Bowen. Those who knew him had ample reason to step forward in tandems to put a stop to Bowen's behavior, but they failed to do so. It is unclear why, but Bowen was not discreet about his double life. Okay, it's long, trust me. Bowen was allegedly found in a gay bar, handcuffed to the bar or a stool. Another story had Bowen missing a client meeting and being found by his secretary, handcuffed to a bed or radiator and smeared with feces. His homosexual imbroglios and flirtations were the stuff of lore and the New York advertising community, with the delicious contradiction of a Mormon advertising executive living a not-so-closeted life as a gay man, providing fodder, they're long sentences, for Bowen's colleagues within various advertising agencies and the wider community. Even when Bowen did show up to Sunday sacrament meetings, he openly manifested his obvious attraction to young men. Khalil Kelly told of Bowen's stake president confronting him after he witnessed Bowen eyeing young, attractive men before the services commenced. According to Kelly, Bowen walked around the sanctuary, clearly on the stalk, as he leered after the young men in his ward. Oh my God. During his time in New York, Bowen managed to attract the attention and friendship of another Latter-day Saint whose proclivities were difficult to hide. David Lee Hamblin was working at Cornell Medical Center in White Plains, wrapping up his clinical work to complete his doctorate in psychology. Another Mormon. There, right. For 2 years, Hamblin served as the ward seminary teacher, so he was teaching kids, putting him in contact with the teenagers who dutifully filed into their Scarsdale meeting house before high school each weekday. During this time, Hamblin's daughters alleged that he and others within the Scarsdale ward were R-wording them at the Hamblin residence on 77 Terrain Avenue in Portchester, New York. I'm sorry. Sorry it's taking long, but it's worth it. Trust me. Hamblin allegedly transported his daughters to his workplace to offer them up to his coworker as well. Bowen retained Hamblin's services as a therapist, beginning a relationship that would stretch over 2 decades. Bowen's future wife, Barbara Timothy, attended Hamblin's healing circles. Hold on. Okay. Healing circles. Okay. Here we go. Bowen's future wife, Barbara Timothy, attended Hamblin's healing circles, ingesting peyote and seeking Hamblin's guidance for her own traumas. Her association with Bowen stretched back to their high school days, and Timothy's friend, Kissy Watkins, she was an energy healer. She's not alive anymore. Neither is Melvin. Would accompany none other than David Lee Hamblin to New York City when Bowen locked his stepsons in his apartment with Watkins and Hamblin. Barbara Timothy had children because, Gordon Bowen was in his 40s when he married for the first time to a woman, Barbara Timothy, this lady right here. And and her husband was, I want to say either a veterinarian or I want to say he was a veterinarian, not sure. But he died unexpectedly, anyways, Gordon was like, I'm gonna marry her. And then that happened. I'm not saying anything. I was like, whoa, what? Red flag. I looked into it a little bit. Okay. I shouldn't have done that. When Bowen locked his stepsons in his apartment with Watkins and Hamblin. So why would he do that? Why would Bowen do that? I see Ruby here with her children. When Bowen locked his stepsons, who sought to convince Eric and Colin Timothy that their mother was in the wrong for attempting to divorce Gordon. So why would that help? Anyways, by then, David Lee Hamblin had lost his license to practice psychology for having S-word with his own patients. Hamblin was embroiled in a divorce with his wife, Roselle Stevenson, who is in jail right now with no bond for this crap. He's out on bond. I don't know how, but he wasn't for a long time. And the court would find that Hamblin had S.A'd his eldest 2 daughters, Rachel and Eliza. For Gordon Bowen, Hamblin's services were needed to exorcise the two female spirits Bowen believed had made him 90% gay. Bowen sought the assistance of Hamblin, Kissy Watkins, and Mel Fish to rid himself of the spirits he believed possessed him, and he would write in his journals that he had successfully expelled those female spirits, reducing his homosexuality to just 10%. Bowen would later complain to his stepsons that the spirits had returned. Over the course of his association with David Hamblin, Bowen was hired and fired at various advertising agencies. First, Bowen worked at Bonneville Communications, serving as creative director until he was fired for abusing his expense accounts and attempting to mount a coup against his direct supervisor. Second, Bowen was fired from Ogilvy and Mather, where he managed to bring 3 of his Bonneville co-workers along with him to New York. From there, Bowen worked at McCann Erickson, but he would be let go from both Ogilvy and McCann. He would briefly work at Young and Rubicam, do private work for clients such as American Express. That whole phrase, membership has its privileges, that is because of Gordon Bowen. Okay. And membership does have its privileges, we often see. He would briefly work at American Express, and then I think, didn't Tim Ballard have an American Express, or was it American Airlines? It was some kind of a promo or something he was supposed to do, but then it fell through. I don't know. Just tagging myself right now. And then transitioned to Sundance, where he was terminated after a screaming match with founder Robert Redford. Okay. Sundance was founded by Robert Redford in partnership with none other than Sterling Van Wagenen, an LDS filmmaker who was related to alleged LDS Church of Satan member Dean Van Wagenen. Robert Redford was married to Sterling Van Wagenen's cousin, Lola, for nearly 27 years. While working at Sundance, Gordon Bowen allegedly used company computers to access gay P sites and escort sites, and this purportedly resulted in limitations being put on Bowen's computer access. Thirsty. I ran out of water. Okay. Undeterred, Bowen simply used his co-worker's computer to access the same sites, resulting in a fracas, I don't know, when that co-worker's child found Bowen's internet history while using his father's computer. It was another instance of Bowen's seeming addiction to hardcore G porn, P word, gay P word, spilling over into his personal and professional life. Bowen's stepsons, Eric and Colin, both reported that they had found gay P word on their stepfather's computers. While his wife, Barbara, was... here we go. All right, it's about to get hot in here. Okay. While his wife, Barbara, was recovering from in vitro fertilization, Bowen reportedly called gay male escorts while watching his daughter, Lily. Oh, God. Bowen's excesses became too much for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to overlook, and in 2003, he was excommunicated. Now note, he has been excommunicated twice. He had burned every professional contact over the years, destroying his reputation. When Young and Rubicon is the four-wheeler, I think. When Young and Rubicam co-workers John McGarry and Stuart Owen approached him to form McGarry Bowen, that's the current company, okay? It was to be his final career stop. McGarry Bowen would become Bowen's path to ownership rather than employment. It would also generate wealth for Bowen in the millions when Dentsu, it's a company name, bought McGarry Bowen, another company name, with Gordon Bowen receiving between $12 million and $58 million from the buyout. Those millions would become a source of endless contention between Gordon Bowen and his estranged wife, Barbara Timothy, Over the course of their marriage, Bowen had been bailed out by Barbara Timothy's father when his ex-partners at You Promise, I don't know, it's a letter U and promise shoved together, had threatened to sue him for a reported $70,000 settlement paid by Alma Boyce. Oh my God. Uh-oh. Oh, wow. I wonder if that's related to Judge Boyce. Just wondering. For a reported $70,000 settlement paid for by Alma Boyce. You Promise surrendered, the company name You Promise, surrendered any further claim to Gordon Bowen's assets. Bowen repaid his ex-wife's kindness. Kindness by forging her name on bank documents to secure a loan to purchase his dream home. Over the years, Bowen had struggled to pay his bills despite raking in millions. He threw lavish parties, contracting for the services of vendors and caterers, but he was delinquent in paying everyone from the gardeners and landscapers to the caterers. It was not until he secured equity in McGarry Bowen that he obtained the kind of financial security that would enable him to stabilize his life. At McGarry Bowen, Bowen relied on the services of a company bookkeeper to help him pay down his debts and manage his finances. During his divorce, those finances were opaque at best. He was a brilliant advertising executive on one hand, generating millions of dollars in revenue with his ability to sell clients on ideas Bowen pilfered from others, but he was unable to completely manage his own money. He was a faithful and devoted Latter-day Saint, but he was also homosexual and a pedophile and an addict when it came to gay male escorts and hardcore blah, blah, blah material. He was a high-functioning executive who owned equity. Oh my God. He was a high-functioning executive who owned equity in a successful advertising agency, but he was also a man who believed female spirits were causing his homosexuality. He wrote of his sins being foreordained in his journal so that he could learn secret codes and combinations, all as part of a mission he felt he had to serve on the part of God within the church that had excommunicated him. Bowen was never rebaptized, yet the church retained his services on marketing matters and reportedly funded a movie, which Lynn Packer refers to as the Icon movie or the Jesus movie. Okay. Funded a movie production for $20 million, which was delegated to Bowen. I'm sorry, let me start that one over. Bowen was never rebaptized, yet the church retained his services on marketing matters and reportedly funded a movie production for $20 million, which was delegated to Bowen, even though he was excommunicated and a disgraced individual. When Tim Ballard, here we go, I was like, oh shit. When Tim Ballard was pilloried by Vice, and this is crazy, sources indicated that Gordon Bowen wrote the press release the church's media officers sent to Vice News. Gordon Bowen wrote the piece and sent it to Vice News, and the church backed it. Okay. Why? That's what I want to know. And so I knew this back when Tim got excommunicated, and I shared it. I shared what Goel had shared on here, and he was trying to vet it out at that time. There were just rumors flying then, but now, here we go. Okay. And this could be controversial because it might cause everybody to be like, see, they didn't do it publicly. I mean, just the conspiracies are going to fly. Anyways. So I'm going to read that again. When Tim Ballard was pilloried by Vice, sources indicated that Gordon Bowen wrote the press release the church's media officers sent to Vice condemning Ballard for his quote unquote immoral activities and utilizing the name of M. Russell Ballard to fundraise. The reality that Gordon Bowen had traded on M. Russell Ballard's name for years and the reputation of the church was apparently irrelevant to those within the church who sought to do damage control where Tim Ballard was concerned. Okay, here we go. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. A plausible explanation for Bowen's contradictions was proffered by Tom Harrison during his divorce. Tom Harrison had provided therapy to Bowen and his estranged wife, Barbara Timothy, and the affidavits and testimonials he offered positioned that Bowen had a dissociative disorder. Tom Harrison was the subject of the book Visions of Glory, detailing his near-death experiences and his allegedly miraculous visitation from Jesus Christ, second comforter. Okay. The book was a sensation within the Latter-day Saint universe, and those who extolled it, such as Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, Jody Hildebrandt, would go on to infamy, resulting in a savage takedown of Harrison by Mormon Stories podcast that drove him into seclusion. It's working. Yay! We're not trying to drive anybody to seclusion. We just want people to be truthful and know that stuff that they put out there is and can be and is sometimes harmful to others. Okay? Just care. That's all we're asking. That's all I'm asking. Before he retreated into seclusion, Harrison reportedly spoke to another individual about Gordon Bowen. He allegedly condemned Bowen as a pedophile and a Satanist, and claimed that he had told church officials about Bowen's proclivities. Harrison also alleged that Bowen had threatened him during Bowen's divorce proceedings. According to those who know him, Harrison is described as an extremely sensitive individual with a soft demeanor, one who had a profound set of experiences that compelled him to dictate his visions into book form. He would not be the only individual in his immediate circle drawing spiritual insight and inspiration from deeply traumatic experiences. Who else, right? Harrison had been one of the church's original point men on the topic of ritual abuse. Just let that sink in for a second. Harrison had been one of the church's original point men on the topic of ritual abuse. During the so-called Satanic Panic, he had advised high-level LDS officials in their response and reported his dismay at their unwillingness to accept his recommendations to confront ritual abuse as a valid phenomenon. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking Glenn Pace memo right now. I'm thinking all kinds of things. I'm sorry. I know I don't have anything over covering my face or anything. So sorry. Okay. Some 50 years into his career, Harrison would feel that his reputation and life's work were in ruins, even as his old nemesis, Gordon Bowen, retained his position as the church's, as his old nemesis, Gordon Bowen, retained his position as the church's point man in the public takedown of Tim Ballard. This was despite Bowen's status as an excommunicated and former member. Right? So they're using somebody who's excommunicated, who they paid the churches allegedly paid Bowen $20 million to come up with this Jesus / it's coined by Lynn Packer as the Jesus movie that never came to be. And there is reports of other apostles going in and out of Bowen's house, at least 3 or 4. So, tie this with, and you add this and compound it with what we have going on over here with Tim Ballard in the whiteboard meeting in the 2017 meeting where all the apostles showed up. It just is weird. It's alarming. If true. Okay. And 40 years after Tom Harrison and others had reportedly advised the church to confront ritual abuse as a real and valid phenomenon, ritual abuse would burst back into the headlines with the David Lee Hamblin case, an issue that could and arguably should have been quashed decades prior was now in full public view again. Ritual abuse was not going away. The Hamblin case implicated dozens of individuals many holding high-level callings within the church. Worse still, a reported 175 victims and counting came forward in the Utah County Sheriff's investigation into David Lee Hamblin and his accomplices. God don't sleep. The dividends of the church's failure to confront ritual abuse and to confront the seedy subcultures of private revelation oh my God, it sucks. I hate it just as much as you do. Trust me. The dividends of the church's failure to confront RA and to confront the seedy subcultures of private revelation among Latter-day Saints burst into view and in other ways as well, with the story of Mormon preppers and apocalyptic survivalists such as Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. These were individuals who were ready to hasten the apocalypse by whatever means necessary, unhinged in their belief that they had received profound private revelations that supplanted and even replaced all earlier revelations. The fruits of their revelation were horrifying: murdered children and family members. I got chills bad. I just knew, like, he's not connecting it, like that, but just, oh. Anyways. Time and time again, the failure of individuals in high-level callings to address and stamp out heresy within the church had yielded devastating consequences. The church's reputation was dented, but more importantly, the faith of the plain and simple individuals who had trusted the church was in tatters. Amen. Victims saw the church as more concerned with its own image than with rooting out the satanic influence of men like Gordon Bowen and David Lee Hamblin. At its core, the story of ritual abuse groups is an old and recurring tale. Joseph Smith found it necessary. He follows Joseph Smith, right? He just don't like the church. Okay. Joseph Smith found it necessary to make it clear to his followers that he alone was the prophet, seer, and revelator after his close associates began to report personal revelations that contradicted Smith's revelations. Okay, I see where they're going. They're saying it's probably more of a Brigham Young thing. Oh my God. Okay. Within the groups frequented or established by men like David Lee Hamblin and Gordon Bowen, private personal revelation is not measured according to scripture or past revelation. God makes it up as he goes along, so to speak, and he is entitled to his inconsistencies. This is how men like David Lee This is how men like David Hamblin and Joe Binion could reconcile the use of peyote in combination with Native American ritual, Janelle, I want to know, as Latter-day Saints. And it is how they could justify weaving the mutually exclusive ideology of Native American religion with the doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're almost at the bottom. Okay, to those within such groups, earnestness and humility become a narcissistic competition to appear spiritually inspired. Oh my God, that's right. Right. Yes, I totally concur with that. Agree with that. In the end, men like David Lee Hamblin do not seek revelation to magnify God. They seek instead to elevate themselves to the height of those men who came before them. The height of those men who came before them. Everyone wants to be a prophet by any means necessary, but the purpose of humility is service to God's purpose rather than man's, for the exaltation of God rather than the exaltation of man. And D&C 2037, humility is required for baptism, the ordinance which marks one's entry into the faith. Only those who have manifested by their own works that they have received the Spirit of Christ shall be received by baptism into his church. Throughout the Hamblin victim statements, oh my God, David Lee Hamblin performs for his fellow CS members, Church of Satan. Okay, that's what he refers to them by. Members, okay. Throughout the Hamblin victim statements, David Lee Hamblin performs for his fellow CS members in one setting after another. exalting himself and his ability to induce obedience and compliance with ritual abuse through his techniques, which combined the priesthood power and his knowledge of psychology. Hamblin was selling those techniques for money. Listen to this. And in barter arrangements, which is the very definition of priestcraft within the church. What's happening here is if you go in and read all the reports, if you follow this Hamblin case, you will see that what they're doing is paying people like David Hamblin or bartering or whatever the hell to train their children, to split them, to split their minds, to cause them to have dissociative identity disorder. So that those altars, those, they split off. Like one of Hamblin's daughters, one of her altars names is Tabitha, which I found was freaky because Lori and Charles had tried to adopt JJ's half sister that was born after him, not my brother, but Mandy's daughter. Mandy had a baby with another man. And so I think there would be 3 graves on Chad Daybell's property if that had worked out. But the name, she had told me before, Lori told me this, she was like, she said that she wanted to name her Tabitha. And I was like, okay. Didn't think about it. And then now I think about it, I'm like, oh my God. Just throwing that in there. God's gifts are not for sale, and those who exalt themselves forfeit any claim to the humility that is an antecedent requirement for entry into the restored church or maturity within the faith. Gordon Bowen made displays of his own purported humility and spiritual concern. I can't read. Gordon Bowen made displays of his own purported humility and spiritual concern at dinners and parties for the elite of the church, but he concurrently and openly indulged in sins that led to his excommunication after 30 plus years of misconduct. Despite the fact that Gordon Bowen was a well-known quantity in the 80s, the church did not act to address the issues raised by Bowen's conduct until 2003. Despite the fact that multiple individuals had reported Bowen to church authorities over the years, Bowen evaded any real culpability for his sins for over 3 decades. Why is that? Even after his excommunication for sexual sins, Bowen was retained by the church to advise it on marketing matters in order to recruit new members. Now, whose department was this? I mean, I know that M. Russell Ballard, who really was close here with Gordon Bowen, $20 million to create a Jesus movie. $20 million of hard-earned tithing money, I'm sure. Just throwing that out there. I mean, Gordon Bowen also worked on which is interesting, the Olympics that came to Salt Lake City back in the day with Mitt Romney. They worked together. And it's funny that it's interesting that I think the Olympics are going back to Salt Lake City in the future. I remember reading that not too long ago. It's just, I don't know. Though the Bible's, okay, blah, 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 blah. Joe, okay. Even after his excommunication for sexual sins, Bowen was retained by the church to advise it on marketing matters in order to recruit new members. Joe Binion, Paul Larson, and David Lee Hamblin. There are some other therapists named in in the victims' reports. Okay. I'm like, oh my God, they're everywhere. So just know there's more, unfortunately. Openly and publicly affiliated with Native American religious groups and polygamous groups in Sanpete County. And they espoused the use of peyote as a means of achieving revelation and the release of trauma. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what like Hugh Vale does, and what Paul Hutchinson had revealed also about using, how does he say it? Cacao plant or something, and ketamine, and you see all these things coming into play. I do. Okay. They espouse the use of peyote as a means of, okay. through the Bible said that Christ had come to wipe away all of their tears. The Latter-day Saints who attended sweat lodges and healing circles sought comfort in the ritualized use of peyote under the supervision of James Mooney, an excommunicated Latter-day Saint who professed to be a medicine man. Uh-oh. No, Janelle. Oh, God. Okay, so that's what Sean Little Bear was known as. And I remember he had built a sweat lodge at Kevin Campbell's house or something, which was right down the road from Chad Daybell. I think. Yeah, it's on a Preparing a People flyer. The fact that Hamblin, Binion, and others were not disciplined for their public actions, I'm going to say led to the damn murders of people, because you gotta nip this in the bud. And it just makes me think that they don't want to. The fact that Hamblin, Binion, and others were not disciplined for their public actions and associations is a damning indictment of their local ecclesiastical leadership. The authorities in Salt Lake City had no way of knowing because the local leadership apparently failed to document, report, and discipline those within Hamblin's CS group for what they were openly doing in their community. Excuse me. And what they were openly recruiting. Oh my God. I'm at the very end. And what they were openly recruiting other Latter-day Saints to do in violation of core doctrines. The question of why local LDS leadership in Provo and Spring City failed to interdict and investigate is still unanswered and will remain so until the church leadership demands a full accounting of how openly apostasy could thrive and flourish over at least 5 separate decades within the Hamblin group. As it pertained to Gordon Bowen, the highest levels of leadership within the LDS were warned. Elm Russell Ballard's secretary received a warning that Bowen was a pedophile, and her response was succinct, quote, "We're keeping an eye on him," unquote. Ballard allegedly told at least 2 people that Bowen had deceived the entire brotherhood. You know, M. Russell Ballard's wife, his late wife, she's a Bowen, so they have the same last name. But he failed to sever his association with Bowen. Multiple sources indicate that Ballard regarded Bowen as a sort of prodigal son, prodigal, an indulgent view that enabled Gordon Bowen to tarnish the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints time and time again with his association, while rehabilitating himself in the eyes of the extended communities in which he worked. Gordon Bowen was not treated like an excommunicated or former member of the church. Tim Ballard, right? Is he? Members of the Quorum of the 12 repeatedly and openly visited Bowen's personal residence. You hear that? Members of the Quorum of the 12. That's the 12 apostle dudes. Okay. Repeatedly and openly visited Bowen's personal residence and reportedly continued to visit Bowen in his home. Continue. That's not past. That's now. Gordon Bowen has not repented because he has no incentive to repent. The consequences for Gordon Bowen were limited to a 2003 excommunication. I'll just say in the public, really. In the present day, Bowen enjoys a close working relationship with the current church leadership that is inexplicable to those who have watched the ongoing patronage of Bowen by church leaders over the years. The life and lie of Gordon Bowen carried on unimpeded by the public exposure of his sexual immorality and alleged child abuse, or the professional violations committed by Bowen over the years. They're horrible. I mean, oh my God, we're talking about skinning people, dead people, and all kinds of stuff. It's horrible. It's hard to read. Inexplicably, Gordon Bowen managed to evade criminal culpability for forging his wife's name on a loan document, even though he admitted to doing so in a deposition. Bowen managed to evade criminal investigations or culpability for reportedly importing boys from Salt Lake City to New York City to live with him in his apartment. So did Mitt Romney's sons lived with him in his apartment in New York also. which is okay, so he says, which is the definition of human trafficking. He openly solicited gay men in his advertising agencies. He sexually assaulted coworkers and I just said the SA word. Oh my God. Coworkers and associates. And he allegedly digitally S-worded his own daughter. In 2012, when the Hamblin sisters made horrifying allegations against Bowen that extended to homicide and the R word, the record does not indicate that the Provo Police Department even interviewed Gordon Bowen about the allegations. The Provo police did not look into Bowen's divorce record, which was publicly available in archives that anyone could access. If they had done so, they would have discovered pages of corroborating allegations of SH, harassment, and trafficking of minors, and the suspicion of multiple parents within Bowen's peer group that he had ill-worded their children. They would have uncovered the fear of Bowen's former secretary, Michelle Aventario, who wrote that she believed the police would one day find the bodies of boys under Bowen's home. Oh my God. Anyways, the police would have uncovered the testimony of landscapers, and the teenage friends of Bowen's stepsons who detailed Bowen's propensity for watching them and making lurid remarks to them. Law enforcement would have found reams of circumstantial evidence and testimony from dozens of individuals as to their suspicion that Gordon Bowen was involved in the A word of children and possibly capable of homiciding the children. They would have found financial crimes that they could have used as leverage to compel Bowen to talk about his alleged activities with regards to David Hamblin, right? Okay, we're at last 2 paragraphs. Whew, y'all hang in there. It should strain the credulity of the credulous that the police did not follow up on the allegations made by the Hamblin sisters. There is nothing in the records released by the Provo Police Department that indicates that the police believed the Hamblin sisters to be lying between 2012 and 2014. The record is bereft of a single instance of the police uncovering falsehood or deceit on the part of Rachel, Eliza, or Catherine Hamblin. They have not lied. So that's what he's doing. He's investigating. He's corroborating. We lived here. We went here. It was this time. He's doing all that, which is interesting. Gordon Bowen remains free to live the life of lies he has built, free to trade in on his ongoing association with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, an association which legitimizes him to anyone who is unaware of the allegations against him in his divorce or in the Hamblin case. The ongoing association that Bowen enjoys with the highest leaders of the church that excommunicated him would not evince to observers that he is excommunicated. On the contrary, such an association would indicate to anyone who did not know better that Gordon Bowen is a member in good standing of the church that excommunicated him in 2003. Those relationships have proven beneficial to Gordon Bowen, who was on the cusp of inserting himself into the nonprofit board that oversees the production of the hit series, The Chosen. On at least 2 separate occasions, sources indicate that an executive within the 2 companies that distribute and produce The Chosen attempted to bring Gordon Bowen into the nonprofit overseeing The Chosen. They were going to put him as an overseer, okay? If others had not been aware of Gordon Bowen's unsavory past and reputation, an alleged pedophile and Satanist would have been on the board of the nonprofit overseeing the most prominent television series representing Jesus Christ to the public. There is no need to conflate the failure of local officials or even the highest levels of the church with God. Conflate the highest levels of the church with God as it pertains to Gordon Bowen. The abdication of responsibility in ensuring that Gordon Bowen is severed from association with the restored church is an indictment of men, not of Heavenly Father. For those of us who believe in the covenant, the objective of our work is simple: compelling those invested with the highest responsibility in our faith to exercise that responsibility with regards to open and obvious apostates. Gordon Bowen can be free to live his lie, but he cannot be allowed to live it with an ongoing association with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so right here he says IRA, which is Investigations in Ritual Abuse, has written an executive summary that is being circulated within the church leadership. There you go. With the goal of severing Gordon Bowen and another individual from the benefits of association with the church. I love this sentence right here. Apostasy has no place alongside righteousness. I like it. I mean, it just helps more insight, I think. But let me know what you think. Cool. I'm so sorry. That was long. Like a whole damn hour. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's neat. Or interesting. Very interesting. Oh my God. Okay. I was just trying to read it. Yeah, it sucks sometimes. Sometimes my mouth doesn't work. Like I said, it's like engineers, how they, make all these plans on paper, but then you go to build the house or whatever, and you're like, this doesn't work. It's like that with my mouth. And articulating words is not my strong point. But I can put together hell of, like, I would love to put a documentary together just of all the things, all the interviews. Like, I would love to do it. Just, I don't have that kind of time. I mean, I do, but I do things for this or other things. Short-term goals always overcome the long-term ones. But anyways, so it's just interesting. When I was, oh my God, I'm stuttering because of the whole Gordon Bowen, the David Hamblin thing. Why am I drawn to it? What made me look that way? Besides that Fox 13 investigative story that came out, was it before or after? I don't remember. I think it was after Tim Ballard came out. The investigative piece on Tim Ballard and OUR. That caught my attention. I was like, there's something far more dark and far more sinister, and here I am. Here we are. And I remember on a live stream not too long ago, we went and we looked at Ken Krogh, who is in Tim Ballard's nonprofit organization, the Spear Fund, and other ones. And he's a multimillionaire or billionaire. I did a video on him, but I gotta still edit it. It's from November of 26. Still, I did them like all in one day. But there's so much to edit. And the editing software that I use right here in StreamYard, I'm sorry for the way they just cut off the words sometimes. I don't know why it does that. I'm not doing it in the editing app. It's just like whenever it finalizes, it just doesn't go right. I'm like, I'm not releasing that. That's horrible. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, I don't really even care, because by the time I release it, or if I ever do, I mean, 50,000 other things already happened. So anyways, I just find it interesting how birds of a feather flock together. Oh, yes. And this is the movement, if you want to say that, that Chad and Lori Daybell were caught up in. Preparing a people, Tim Ballard, Glenn Beck putting this on, with Rod Meldrum. Now this was from Carl Danger in the Facebook group, True Crime Underground. I just found this, but I've been saying this on this channel this whole time. I just didn't know where I found it or heard it. And I didn't hear it from him still, but that was just another source. And he had done some timelines with J is for Justice a long time ago. And in one of them I shared on here. You can go back and find that. I don't know which one exactly right now. But he had released that, and he was going over the timeline of Melanie Pulaski, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, the deaths, the shootings, all this stuff, the kids missing. Well, there's this one part where in October of 2019, Audrey Baratero and Lori and Melanie, Hawaii, right? Well, there was an Operation Underground Railroad event in October that Melanie Pulaski allegedly donated 6,000 buckaroos to. I just want to know. I want to get my hands on that event. Anybody that went to that event, flyers of that event, anything to corroborate or debunk. anything to vet it out. I just want to know. I think we all do want to know that. It's just interesting, the affiliations. And I always had heard that it was through Melanie Pulowski that they were associated. This was even associated to Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard. I just want to know how. I want to know why. I want to know who, what, when, where, why, how. I want to know the things. So I don't know. Maybe sleuthers, sleuth. Merry Christmas, you know. But again, I mean, that's something I have not asked Carl that personally. That's just something, you know, I'll go across old things and review them all the time. And it's interesting because there's things I didn't pick up on and or didn't know to, not knowing what I know now and going back. So it's just interesting because you pick up on a whole lot more stuff, and that's important to, I think so. I think just, did they go to this event? Did Lori go to the event? Did Audrey go to the event? Was there an event? Well, you know, I'm sure it was about trafficking victims, sex trafficking victims, raising money, because that's what Tim Ballard does. And I just find it interesting. But anyways, I appreciate you being here. I don't know what to say yet still about the Tylee yet. I'm glad. I don't know. It's got to sink in. I haven't had time to reflect. And yeah. I don't know. The sky is it's limitless, right? Endless possibilities here. So, but anyways, I appreciate you hanging in here. I'm going to try and edit that one part down, you know, where I'm reading that story I just read you about Gordon Bowen. And if y'all want to support the work of Go L on Substack, let me grab that link real quick before we go. I think I pay like $8 a month. Okay. Research is not, this is not free. I'm just saying, you know, we try to cover our costs and everything, but I just put it in the chat. So if you can, and also with Lee Packer, did I say that right? Lynn Packer, Lynn Packer, an American Crime Journal. Lynn has busted his ass, and I have a lot of respect for that man. What about Tylee? Judge Boyce released Tylee's remains to next of kin. So I don't know how I feel yet about that. I'm happy. I'm relieved about Tylee getting to go. I don't know where home is. Home to me. And so this is just going to be one of those things. It just is. It's something that's bothered me ever since. Worrying about, you know, when this day would come. Because we still have not put JJ to rest. We still haven't buried JJ. We were just kind of waiting to see how things go. So we will see how this is going to go, where Tylee's going to go, who's going to handle it, who's going to allow us to go, who knows? I don't know. So I don't really want to, I don't know. I doubt we'll be invited. Just saying, it's a control thing. I don't want to I don't know. I just think they need to be together. That's me. I just think they need to be together. They've been together. They were together. And I'm going to start crying. So anyways, I love you guys. Justice for Tylee Trolls, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Love always wins. And you guys are proof of this. Bye.